Good evening, everybody. Welcome to FPL BlackBox ahead of Game Week 6. And can we get some X-Files music, Mark?
Wow.
Because it's happened.
It's
the
crazy.
mystery is revealed.
I've just realised, I'm not sure we're streaming in 4K, but it's too late now. We're streaming, so that's a bit of a problem.
No one needs to see us in 4K, it's fine.
Well, no, it's all the tables, isn't it? It just looks like it's streaming at a lower quality, and I didn't check that, which is a bit strange. Let us know if it's blurry tonight. There's not a lot I can do about it if it is. But yes, for the first time ever, we've had to change the thumbnail with about 15 minutes to go. Because I got home from work and you texted me and said the mystery chip's been announced, and yeah, I mean it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack, isn't it?
You put the call in, didn't you? Got the call in before? You got word that it was coming out?
Well, I'm glad we came out tonight, because if we'd have come out, obviously, if this had come out tomorrow and we'd have missed it, it'd have been really, really tough on us, wouldn't it? So the timing in terms of us streaming tonight is good, but we haven't really had a lot of time to digest what it could mean and the impact, but we're going to talk about it, obviously.
I'm really to get your thoughts on it, because I've been through all the emotions with it, and yeah, it's a really strange one. At first, I genuinely thought it was an April Fool. At first, I saw it and I was looking for Boona,
because you weren't expecting
Boona's name.
When you saw the tweet, you were looking for Boona's name, were you?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it at all. It just completely came out of the blue, and well, I was like listening to it, and I was like, "Is this what?" I literally had to watch the video about 10 times.
I haven't watched it. Is there a video to talk you through it?
It's not the clearest. Let's put it like that. It's not the clearest what it is, and obviously, Fantasy Football Scout, who sponsored this stream, our heroes. I think Neil was straight on it, put together the rules and everything like that, which we're going to talk through in a bit. And then I started to get my head around it. It was only then when I thought, okay, this is something.
I mean, well, let's look at it, because we got you sent me the stuff that is this what Neil put together. You sent me some rules, so let's talk through it.
Yeah.
You'll have to talk through it, because I mean I'm slowly unpacking it, but yeah, talk us through for the podcast. Talk us through how it's going to work, basically.
Yeah, I'll talk through it as if you've never played, you haven't seen it before, you're tuning in for the first time, and this is the first you're hearing about it. So essentially, it's a new chip that you can play from Game Week 24 onwards, so you can't activate it till after Christmas. It's the first chip we've had that will be activated for multiple game weeks. So once you activate it, it's in play for 3 weeks.
That's big for starters, isn't it?
And you can't use any other chips during those 3 game week times while it's active. So you're locked in effectively for those 3 weeks. So if a new double game week was to be announced, or or there was a blank game week, or something else happened, the winter hits and games are called off, it's a hurricane, all of that stuff, tough. You're locked in for those.
I'm trying to immediately think about the impact of that, because obviously we're expecting to be less double game weeks this season, so we're expecting the second half of the season, and this is activated from 24 onwards, so it's definitely the second half of the season. Why 24 onwards? That's a bit odd. Why did they decide it to be that late? Any idea what that would be?
No.
Why wouldn't it just be from the...
What is
anyway, okay.
Is there anything special about... Isn't 24...
I don't know.
Game 24 is the 1st of Feb.
Okay. It's interesting why maybe it's implementation time or testing. I don't know. Anyway, right. Yeah. So it's 24 onwards. So how does that impact that? Because normally game weeks 34 and 37 historically have been massive double game weeks, haven't they? One of them has, right? So if you play it then, you're denying yourself the opportunity to play bench boost or potentially triple captain in that period.
Yeah.
But then again, though, if you play it late, as I understand it, if you back a manager who's playing the team ahead, then it's better, right?
You're jumping ahead. You're jumping ahead. Let me go through the rules.
That's just
the basics. So basically, what happens is it's called assistant manager, which is a weird name for it, because you're not actually picking a manager. You're picking a team. I think they could have got the naming right, because you pick Guardiola, but it's got nothing to do with Guardiola. Because if Guardiola gets sacked, it doesn't matter. You'll still get
but assistant manager is a better title for it. And what are you going to do? Like pick a club or something? That doesn't make sense. No, I reckon it's named okay. I think that's all right.
I mean, call it the Ass Man chip, so that's always good.
That's nice.
And with the Ass Man chip, what you get is points based on how the team performs. So instead of just players, it comes on team. So if the team wins with the manager you picked, you get 6 points. If the team draws, you get 3 points. You get a point for every goal they score, and you get 2 points for every clean sheet they score. That's the basics
Right.
of it. Now, there's a slightly different mechanic with it as well, where if you pick a manager who is managing a team against opposition who are ranked 5 places or more higher,
Right. This is the Jeopardy bit, isn't it? Right.
yeah, you get more points for a win. So you get 10
Yeah.
points instead of 6, and you get 5 points for a draw instead of 3. The goals scored and the clean sheet points remain the same. So effectively, and a lot of people are already talking about teams like Man United with Amorim or whoever, even Man City.
Man City, if they're mid-table, Spurs, if they're mid-table. I mean, obviously, we can only look at it now. I mean, who knows what the table's going to look like in Game Week 24? It's still quite a way to go, but yes.
But there's extra bits that you need to consider as well, because I think that if we just stopped it there, I actually think that's quite a cool chip. I like that. I think it's clever. I think there's
I mean, the mechanics, it feels all right. Feels quite fun and impactful. Yeah, I agree with that.
But
what's the bit you don't like? The transfers and the club quotas.
Well,
stuff.
this is the issues this is the issues you've got with it. This is what I don't like about it. Firstly, you can pick a manager at the start of the 3 games and then transfer them out for another manager effectively during that three game spell. It will cost you a transfer, like it will cost you like a free transfer, which a lot of people are saying is why they've upped it to 5 free transfers. The managers count as a player from that club. So if you've got 3 players from Arsenal, you can't then pick Arteta, for example, because you've already loaded up on Arsenal. I mentioned you can't use any other chips with it. And what I really don't like is the managers cost money from your budget.
Yeah.
So
well, that is why they've
0.5.
announced it. Now. That's maybe why it's 24, because they've given us long enough to plan for that. So that makes sense now.
Okay. So people saying that I've got the rules wrong, by the way. It's actually plus 10 points for a win.
Yeah, it says there, like 16 and 8. Yeah. So that's huge. Okay. That's
that
massive.
is quite a big jump then. Yeah. But we'll see in a minute when we look at some of the scoring mechanics. It is tricky. Like we'll see some of the average scores and some of the big hauls, and it might not be as easy to get it right with the lower down teams that you can. But then we're only kind of halfway through the season. So yeah, sorry, I mean, it's not 10 points instead of 6. It's 16 points instead of 6, and 8 points instead of 3.
Okay,
all makes sense.
It does. I mean, if they don't have a manager cost, how else are they meant to do it? They can't all be equal value. So
why not?
I know you say, well, because there's obviously going to be better managers than others and better teams than others to pick, isn't there? And if they're all equal value, then everyone will just hone in on the same one. So if they don't put a value on the managers, and obviously they're not going to say what the managers are yet, they're going to do that. I guess they're going to do that very close to 24, if not before. Actually, they can't, can they? They can't have got to reveal the prices of the managers soon, haven't they?
I don't really know why they can't all just be the same price, because you're still getting you're still having to pick between going for like a top team.
There's no strategy.
Well, there is, because you go for a top team and you don't get the extra bonus, the big bonus that we just talked about, or you go for a manager representing like if you go for Southampton, for example, they could be playing anyone during that 3 game spell.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, okay, so what if? Because my hot take is Man City, if they're like 10th and you can spot a spell of fixtures where they're playing teams in the top 5, and you've got the opportunity then to back Man City against, yes, top 5 sides, but there's every chance they can beat them, particularly if Man City come good second half of the season.
Yeah.
Then you're getting 16 points for each victory, right? If you make Pep the same price as every other manager, everyone's just going to go to Pep. Whereas at least if Pep's 1.5, people have got to manufacture getting that money free with transfers in order to go with Pep. So it's harder to get to Pep. So that makes sense, doesn't it? What?
Well,
how else do you do it?
Well, there's a couple of things with that. Firstly is, and generally, I think this is an awful chip for like a casual player. I've already had messages from friends in like uni leagues and stuff who have absolutely no idea what is going on. They just simply don't understand it. And like I said, I had to watch that video and read this scout article before I even got my head around it. It means we've got to leave extra money in the bank to get this manager in place, and then when the 3 games ends, we're then gonna have like 1.5 million left in our bank that we then have to spend on something else.
You don't have to spend it, do you? But yes, you're going to maximise that money, you've got to then have a plan to spend it. But 1.5, I don't think that's that difficult to get. I mean, I've had periods this season where I've had about 4 or 5 million in there, so maybe it will be low by game week 24. The landscape could change. I don't think
if you don't think it's that difficult, then surely a 0.5 to 1.5 million budget is irrelevant anyway. So why not just make them all the same price?
Because you've got to have different values for different. Like, there are going to be some managers that are going to be obviously the best picks, I think. Do you not think that?
But do you think 1 million is enough?
Yeah, it could be.
And also, I don't. If Man City go into game week 34 and they're 10th in the league, I'm not sure I'm going to be picking City anyway.
Game week 24. Game week 24.
Okay, 24. But when are they playing sides?
There's going to be a team or several teams that are lower than expected by game week 24 that you would back to climb the table and potentially beat teams 5 places above them. There is going to be, because looking at it now, like it could be City, or it could be someone less obvious like Newcastle or Spurs, a team like that who are sitting like 10th, 11th because they've had a bit of a slump. The other thing is timing it, isn't it, as well? There's so many strategies, right? But one strategy is, Tottenham could be sitting 8th but have a difficult fixture in game week 24. So you might go, well, I'm not going to play it yet, because if they lose their fixture in 24, they'll drop to 11th. And then when I play it, but then of course, the other thing is if they're winning games, so say they win the first game and you get 16 points against a team above them, they could then climb some places, and suddenly where you planned that they would play someone above them, they're not above them anymore.
But you can swap them out. You can use a transfer to swap that manager out. You see, which is where it starts getting a little bit more confusing. I think there's a lot. It's a very, very, very in-depth chip. You've got to save budget. You've got to use transfers. You've got to stick with the number in your team.
You've got to look at the table. You've got to look at the fixtures to see where that would
work out where it is. Yeah, there's a lot to it, and it's definitely interesting. It's a completely new dynamic, and there's already a few people in the chat saying, "I wonder if this is going to be a." Something they look to roll out permanently next season, whether it will be a chip next season or maybe it's just an extra spot in our teams where we get 101.5 budget or something, or 100.5, and we have to pick a manager.
Well, I don't think it's optimum to have announced the mystery chip and then announce it mid-season. I think like from what I've seen, I've had a brief look on Twitter. I won't call it X. I've had a brief look on Twitter. I'm sorry, and the reaction's mixed, and there's like some extreme reactions. And I think that is because any change to FPL...
Oh, yeah, of course.
We react in an extreme way, right? And normally that change comes pre-season. But when you throw that change in the middle of the season, when someone's already invested time and money in the season... Not money, but time, or maybe money. I don't know. People are buying memberships and stuff, aren't they, for all over the place. But... when there's been investment in your season and then you see this come in, I'm not surprised there's some extreme reaction, right? Because change is something which is jarring. And so even at the start of the season, I think the reaction would be like, whoa, that's a bit wild. But obviously that's amplified, I think, because it's come mid-season.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they've gone with such an in-depth chip. I mean, my prediction for it was... shocked. my prediction was it was going to be a chip refresh. Yeah. So you could use it for any chip that you've got, and if you if you still had them all intact, you just get an extra one on whatever one you wanted. I thought that'd be quite simple to do with like the infrastructure that's in place. I wasn't expecting this like wholesale change. Like they're going to have to calculate, like you say, league positions and points based off that, and
I guess there's strategy. There's lots of layers of strategy. I mean, like for content creators, for Ben Crellin, for example, it's going to be crazy because there's lots you can look at, like obviously the fixture difficulty, your strategy in terms of saving transfers, because obviously if you save transfers and you can swap between managers, then that takes it to another level, because you obviously the optimum is trying to get 16 free wins and 16 points and goals and clean sheets, right? So you could do a load of strategy on terms of where's the best bank of fixtures and the best moves between managers to try and achieve that. I think the danger for me is like our thinking and our strategy could all go into this for the second half of the season. It's that in depth.
You say that, but when we have a look at some of the scores already so far this season, it looks to me like the average for this chip
so you sent this to me.
It's probably going to be worth about 30 or 40 points, we think. I mean, and that would be a pretty good result for it. So thanks. I know Focal's on one of these as well, but thank you to AJ Cairns. This was the first one of these that I saw. He's gone through all the clubs in the Premier League and calculated the scores. So average game week score if you use this chip on them, and then the best is can't argue with that. And then the best score they could have got so far this season. So you mentioned kind of some of the loads. I mean, Bournemouth have been one of the surprise packages
because they've beaten teams above them at home.
Exactly.
Man City and Arsenal. Yes. Yeah.
So they're averaging 7.5 points a game. So if you use them kind of in any stretch of the game, you'd expect to get around 24-ish points, something like that. Right. If you caught them for their really good run, where they beat some teams quite a bit higher, you would have got 47 points from that chip if you picked Iriola for those.
That's a lot for
those 3 games.
Mind you, that's over 3 game weeks, right? Yeah, of course.
3 game weeks, and it doesn't take into account something like a double game week. So you could use this on a double game week, and then you're getting the 2 games from the double game week. So it could be worth 60 points or something in a week. Liverpool have been absolutely flying. If you pick them for their best run, you'd have got 31 points, which is pretty much in line with teams like Chelsea, Fulham, Arsenal. It's below teams like Newcastle, who haven't really been doing that well. It's below Wolves. I noticed Wolves have got 35 points because they had that run. I think they got 2 wins and a draw against Southampton, Fulham.
Yeah,
got
they've been low down,
4 goals.
Of course. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
The worst team, obviously, you could have picked was Southampton because they just don't win. They don't win any matches.
But if you wait to the end of the season, we often see the clubs fighting relegation getting surprise results. Then suddenly that window I talked about earlier, that 34 to 37, could be really attractive depending on fixtures. Because obviously you can bet on a mid-table team to beat the team. And if that mid-table team is capable like a Spurs or a City, then that looks a good option. But the other thing you could do is get on a relegated team that's got momentum. Like if West Ham are still down there for basically, say they're 15th or 16th with 5 or 6 games to go, you'd think that they've got the quality to beat teams above them to get themselves out of it. And there might not be a lot to play for elsewhere.
Is it better just to go over Liverpool, who you know are going to probably grind out 3 wins because they're great at the end of the season, score a couple
and just
of goals,
bank the basic points?
And just bank the basic points. I mean, there's a great comment from Dr. David 1963. I'm going to assume that I'm not even going to fact check this. I'm going to assume that he's completely right on this. But he said you're missing the most important stat. Only 17 teams have beaten a team 5 places or higher, which is like a 12% chance of getting it right. So 7 teams have beaten a team 5 places or higher of 144.
That is great
games.
research.
So if that's true, which I'm going to assume is because Dr. David wouldn't lie to us. It's not easy to bank to predict when a team's gonna win. And if you're trying to swap that chip around to try and catch one of those, you could end up getting no points because your team might lose 3 games.
Thing is what I like, because it has impact on budget and transfers, and when you play the other chips, it is really impactful. Not only in terms of potential points, but in terms of how we approach strategy in the second half of the season. Like, it changes so much about how we've got to think about, because I don't think you can go into it without planning, because you don't want to end up with like, well, I can only afford a 0.5 manager, so I'm going to have to go with that. Because the difference between going like a Leicester manager or an Ipswich manager, whoever that might be, I mean, they might change by then, rather than going for a 1.5 manager, which presumably is going to be the top. I mean, how they price it is going to be really interesting. That could be quite big. So you've got a plan to be able to, I guess, weaken your bench or make a transfer. I mean, I guess like something like having a Trent or having a Porro or having a Vardiol that you could move down and get the 1.5 quite easily without having too much of a hit on your team would be one way to go about it. But it does disrupt. It can disrupt your team if you need to do that at any given time. So it's like the more we plan for it, obviously the better. So it's all the chips are like this, right? All the chips require planning, and because of that, all the chips, unfortunately, don't really favour casual players, because managers like us and managers who are watching the stream, through planning, are able to exploit the chips far better. I think, which is why the second half of the season is always the half of the season we look forward to, because it's the double game weeks, blanks, and then the chips. What this has done is just compounded that, it seems. Do you think? I mean, it looks that way because it looks like it's got even more layers of strategy to it, which means that even more planning is going to win out, I would have said.
But what's going to happen is we all overthink it. We all go for like Thomas Frank because he's got a couple of decent home games. They lose all 3 games, and then my mate from the pub goes slot and gets like 50 points from it. Yeah, you almost know it's going to happen. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, there has been a lot of negativity about it, and we're seeing it in the chat now. The chat is actually a bit more mixed than I thought it might be. Yeah. I think maybe like me, you see it at first, you think, what the hell have they done? And then you kind of think about it and you think, okay,
take a breath, calm down. Yeah.
Take a breath, calm down. It's nice they've tried something a bit different. It's completely unexpected from what I was thinking it was going to be. But yeah, we'll have to see kind of how it pans out. I just think they made it a little bit too complicated. I don't think it really needed to be. I don't think you should be able to change the manager, for example. It'd be good if you were just locked in for 3 games.
That is, I mean, that makes it more powerful, but more beneficial to those who do planning.
Yeah. And I think there was a good comment in the chat, which was like, what does this, like, fantasy football's always been about picking players who score points. Now you're effectively picking outcomes of teams, which suits us, Mark, because from the start of BlackBox, we've always done team predictions.
We only get it right 50% of the time, though.
We're absolutely average at it, but we've always done it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I remember I think it was the Times fantasy game had this, and you had a manager all season, and you got 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw. But all the managers were different prices as well. I mean, I'm surprised they've gone this far with it. I wasn't expecting it at all. I was expecting a variant of chip we've seen before.
Yeah, Limitless was the one that most people thought it was going to be, I think.
Yeah.
Just unlimited budget. I mean, it's very similar to the free hit, but it wouldn't be too kind of different from what was already there. I didn't think they'd go this route.
It makes me encourage. It's encouraging in that if they're willing to do this, it means that they're open to changes that could be quite extensive in the future, right? And that's interesting because I think in the past, like if we go back to when the chips first came in, the game was a bit stagnant, and we were often saying, well, they're almost too worried about touching it because it's a successful formula, so don't touch it. Now they're kind of like really going for it, and they might not get it right. And I'm sure, I mean, looking at this, I think there's ways you could refine it. You could keep it but refine it, and perhaps that's what the plan will be if it's kept for next season. But I think the fact they've been brave is really encouraging. And I think I said this before at the start of the season when they made the changes to the rolling transfers, and it's like, at last, okay, they're making some bold moves. And so I think that's good. I think that's a positive. And I think that, I don't know, it's not until we play this that we know if it needs further refinement. It probably does, but fail fast and fix it and make it better is a valid approach. Better than doing nothing, I think. So I'm just shocked at the extent of the chip and how, I mean, for us, it's just like, from game week 24 onwards, we've got to look at this chip almost every episode, haven't we, about when we're going to play it.
It's
going to be huge for us as content creators.
And things like the Lego Mane jump on, jump off thing is going to be absolute, like it's already key content, but it's absolutely key content because that's going to tell you when the most effective times to play it are. What's going to confuse people though is, say you pick a manager and then they get sacked and then they go to another club in the Premier League. Lopetegui ends up at Wolves, and then you've picked Lopetegui, and then suddenly you're still getting West Ham's points.
Surely you just stay with the team, don't you? You don't go with the manager.
Yeah, it goes with the team, but it's the manager chip, isn't it? You're picking the manager, so it's a bit confusing if that manager is no longer at the club or at a different club.
Yeah, but no? Maybe. But I think it's the best name for it. I don't know what they could have come up with, like, to make it affiliated to club. It feels natural that it's an assistant manager. I quite like that. Did you see Neil's tweet as well? Assistant to the FPL manager thing.
Yeah.
That's very good.
And there's one of Harry, just assistant FPL, just FPL Harry. Can we pick him to our teams?
Oh, has he done one? Right.
What is interesting though as well is if they are bringing in this kind of like locked chip in for 3 weeks, if they could bring in other chips in the future with that. So, like your captain for the next 3 weeks earns double points rather than just 1 week. Or your vice captain and your captain earn double points for the next 3 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Something like that might be on the cards for future. Because it's not really something I've thought about, a kind of a chip which was in play for a certain period of time. I've always just looked at them as one game week and out.
Yeah, and then you could do it that it's locked in for 3 game weeks and you get your best score out of those 3 game weeks. So like you play the triple captain and you play it over 3 weeks and it's the best score that you achieve with the triple captain over 3 weeks. I mean,
or the worst.
Yeah. I mean, are you going to play it accidentally, do you think, Az?
Maybe. When we're struggling for views again, Mark, you never know what I'm capable of.
Yeah, you'll do anything for clicks, won't you? I mean, it's a level of change to the game that I wasn't expecting. And there's no question it's shaken the second half of the season up big time, massively, hasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's jarring because it's a big change. But I just think we need to sleep on it. And I mean, there'll be loads of strategy coming out in the next few days, won't there? So.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you got the fix, haven't you, from 24?
Yeah, I got a ticker. So we've got no chance of interpreting this and going, this is where I'm going to play it. But I looked at one because I immediately just went to Man City when because obviously Pep's on the farm, and I thought, well, Man City, if they're mid-table. And if you look at it, like if you're playing it in 25, there's a chance, for example, that Newcastle, Liverpool and Spurs are all above Man City in game week 25. And yet they could easily beat Newcastle, Liverpool and Spurs.
Yeah, but they probably won't.
Well, but we don't know what shape Liverpool. They're going to be in by then.
They always lose to Spurs.
But surely that kind of that bank of 3 fixtures gets you a good chance of 16 points each time, and you haven't got to use transfers to move your manager around either. You can just go with Pep and go, right, I'll lock it in, and surely he wins at least one of those 3 games. And if those teams are above him, then he's getting 16 points. So that's risky. That immediately leapt out.
Yeah, I mean, it's risky because you could go for Arsenal during 31 to 33, where they play Everton, Brentford, and Ipswich. Like, they're going to win most likely all 3 of those games.
Or Ipswich, Palace, Bournemouth.
Two home games in those. I mean, we can look at Liverpool as well. They've got a quite good spell I saw, which was Everton, Fulham, West Ham, or Fulham, West Ham, Leicester, for example.
Yeah, but you got to go for. Are you not? So you're sitting here now. You're thinking, I'm just going to go for the solid wins and the clean sheets and goals. You're not going to go for. You're not going to target bonus.
Well, I just think a lot of these teams are going to be down the bottom for a reason,
Surely
aren't they?
You've got to go for the 10-point bonus, haven't you?
Look at Wolves' run from 28. Everton, Southampton, West Ham. That's not a bad run.
I'll tell you what.
Realistically, they could lose all 3 of those games.
I think you could do a podcast or a stream just on this chip for the rest of the season because there's so much. It's like, honestly, because it's interesting that you're thinking more conservative about it. And I'm immediately going, where can I get the extra 10 points? And that will divide the community. And I know now, like there's managers who play this game a lot more conservative than me. I'm thinking, Zophor and players like that who are very pragmatic, very cautious. Joe won't take risks with price rises. It'd be interesting to speak to those managers about who don't normally take risks with early transfers, who don't normally take hits. How are they feeling about chasing the extra 10 points? Are they going, no, I'm just going to bank the wins? Or are they going, no, I'm going to look for a period of fixtures where I can move it around managers who can get me the 10 bonus? See, it's fascinating that. So that's good because it's going to divide people. That
there is a few people in the chat asking if you quite understand the 5 places thing. There've got to be 5 places above them in the table.
I know.
There
might only be 1 or 2 that are possible to do that. Like, if Man City are still mid-table, Pep's going to be popular because people will roll the dice on that, won't they? If Spurs are like in the lower half somehow, Man United, Amorim, right? If it looks like Amorim's sorting them out for the second half of the season, you could go Ipswich, Arsenal, Leicester, and hope that they beat Arsenal at home, or you could go Forest, City, Newcastle, and hope that they win one of those. Like, if you go Forest, City, Newcastle, and United are below all those teams, you've only got to win one of them, and you're getting 16 points compared to 5 points for winning. So you've got it in one hit then. If all those 3 teams, and there's a good chance that Forest, City, and Newcastle are going to be above United in game week 30. There's a good chance that happens. Wouldn't you rather go, well, I've only got to get 1 win from those 3, and I've immediately got 16 points, which is the equivalent of going for slot and winning 3 games.
I mean, you could get one and then move them. You could get that one win from the first game and then
move it off,
move over to the other. Yeah, I don't know. It's been interesting to know what the kind of average scores are on this chip by the end of the season, because there are going to be lots of different strategies. Heroic Doses asked why we're not outraged by it. He says they've killed the integrity of the season, burned anyone who held the triple captain, jacks up the budgeting to pay for this chip. I don't know. I'm not outraged. Comment? Heroic Doses.
Yeah,
it's about 6 up.
Okay, I'll find it and stick it.
I mean, there is a lot of outrage for it, and I've got to be honest. When I first read it, I was kind of just completely, I don't even know what the word was. I was just in complete disbelief at it. Am I outraged by it? Not really. I think,
well, that's because we're 1.8 and 1 million in the world. Right? Yeah, maybe if we were top 100.
I need all the help I can get.
I mean, honestly, if you're sitting there and you're top 100 and you're thinking, this is my season, I could win it this season, and then this comes in, yeah, you probably are like, oh, okay, that's a bit unfair. That's kind of moved the dial too much.
Yeah,
it would. That would be a blow, I think. If you
we knew it was coming,
a fantastic season.
We knew it was coming. We knew the mystery chip was coming in at some point. We knew whatever the mystery chip was, it would affect, things like chip use. So, like you say, it burns people who have saved the triple captain, but there was always going to be a chip, and whatever the chip was, you'd always better use it on a double game week towards the end of the season and have more options. Like, that was always going to be the case. I think the issue with it, I think a lot of people have, is the purity of the game, right? People just like to pick players, pick points. Like, the argument about captaincy is one thing, and now there's chips. There is definitely more gamification coming into FPL off the back of all these things, because they're trying to keep people more engaged with the game. The question for me is, I don't think this creates more engagement with the game. I think this puts people off, and it's only for people like us who are going to sit here and look at strategy and look at spreadsheets and sign up to Ben Crellin that the people are going to benefit.
It does feel really ramping up the nerd factor of, well, if you think there was a lot of things to research and strategy before, then look at this. Let's throw this in. So it doesn't make the game simpler and more approachable. I agree. Yeah, I don't think any of the chips do. Really, I don't think they serve that purpose. But we don't know when they sat around and went, well, we wanted to add a new chip, what the goal of that chip was. I did think the chip would be aimed at trying to recover the players lost at halfway. I really did. I thought that was, well, obviously what it's going to be is some mechanism to bring managers who have lost interest, some way of reviving their interest. I don't think this does that, because unless they're engaged managers, unless we were thinking of giving up mid-season, but it's never going to be the case, right? So the players who give up mid-season are the ones who aren't, play every season and fanatical and watch podcasts and watch streams. It's the people who drift off because they're like 5 million in the world, they're bottom of the mini league and give up, right? For them, are they going to go and look at how they research this to get the best out of it to get themselves back in their mini league? I don't think they are, because there's too much there, isn't there? So it's not serving that purpose.
It's going the way of like World of Warcraft, to add another nerdy reference in. It's like expansion pack after expansion pack after expansion pack, and then in the end, they just bin it all off and go back to classic. And that's what's going to happen with FPL. They're going to keep adding more and more layers to it, and then they're going to develop a game for the purists, which is just points, and that's it. And then people play that as well.
I mean,
that's my prediction.
There's real mixed opinion. Stim Charles saying it actually does do that. I've been having a shit season. Yeah, okay. So I think for where we are because I look at it and go, is there a chance I can get a big gain from this and catch some managers above me? Yeah. So it does that for me. I think but I would never give up playing. I don't know whether Slim Charles will give up playing. I'm never going to go, I've had enough, I'm going to give up for the rest of the season. So I'm not perhaps the managers they want to target. But it does give managers who are quite far away, maybe if you're 50 points behind in your mini league, this is an obvious way of going, right, if you put some time in, you can probably play this well and get that back.
There is just that part of me, though, that just wants to pick players. Like, that's always been the fun and the game, and I want to see my players score a hat-trick. Now I'm going to be celebrating clean sheets and goals for like random teams just because I've picked their manager for 3 weeks. I don't know. It just makes me feel a bit like, I kind of I don't mind the chips, all the strategy and everything, but now there's another layer on top of it. Even I'm a bit like, oh God, like, here we go. Got to think of a whole new like approach to things. I can't even get picking the players right in the last couple of years. I'm picking a bloody manager as well.
And we know our ability to do predictions is 50%, so that's the kind of success rate we can expect with this chip. But I mean, it will be fascinating to see if anyone really plays a blinder and gets 3 lots of 16 plus 3 clean sheets plus 10 goals. I mean, what's that come to? 48, 10 goals would be, what was it, a point for a goal? I can't remember now. What did you say it was?
2. Is it? Well, 1 point per goal, 2 points for a clean sheet.
So 10 goals plus 3 victories above, with the 5 places above, would be 48. 10 goals, 58. 3 clean sheets, 64 points. So that's possibly, in the realms of the maximum you could get is around 60 points.
Yeah,
that's big. But the likelihood of finding 3 managers or 3 clubs that are going to beat teams 5 places above them, as we've seen in the chat, is probably very, very remote indeed, isn't it?
Do you think it's why they've upped the limit on the number of transfers you can have? Do you reckon this was all part of like a master plan, or do you think they've just thought to themselves last week, oh crap, we should really do something with that mystery chip?
No, I generally think the role in the transfers was about for players who miss deadline, and therefore they get at least some payoff from doing that. And I think it's really good for that, because sometimes I haven't changed Billy's team and I'm like, oh, he's got 4 transfers now because I haven't changed his team for a couple of weeks. So you see the benefits of that. I've seen it firsthand when I've like logged into Billy's team and tried to change it with him and gone, oh look, we've got this many transfers because we forgot to do it. So it helps those managers that, and I think that was the purpose of that. I don't think it's aimed at this. But
who's going to be the first content creator to swap their assistant manager? That's what I want to know.
I mean, is there any chance that you'll just go Hertzler out of sentiment?
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah, I could pick him for 26 to 20. Trouble is, we always Brighton are a good team with this, because we always beat the teams above us and always lose to the ones below us.
Forest, I mean, Forest have beaten United, and United were below us, and we've beaten Liverpool, obviously. So our teams aren't bad bets for it, are they?
We've got an unbelievable run, really, from 24 all the way to 38. Those last 3 games are interesting for us. We've got Wolves, Liverpool and Spurs.
What you want is for Brighton to go on a massive decline right into game. So,
yeah.
But I mean,
time it just right as we come out of it.
That could happen, right? There could be a really good team who just has different. I mean, what I should have got is the ticker before 24 to see who had difficult fixtures, because that's quite interesting, actually. Or I've got the long ticker. Let me bring that up. Does that go up to 24? Yeah, it does. Well, okay. So Brentford, for example, have got City and Liverpool and Palace, right? And then play Spurs, right? So Brentford are going to drop in the table before playing West Ham, Leicester and Everton. Now, I think there's a chance that they could be below West Ham, maybe, if West Ham have a resurgence.
Not by 5 places, surely.
Probably not, but they're going to... I mean, Brentford are going to lose to City, Liverpool, and maybe Spurs. And maybe they're a home game, so maybe you.
Brentford aren't going to be 5 places behind West Ham, Leicester, and Everton, though.
Yeah, no, I guess not. And Ipswich have got a tough run, but they're going to be low as well. Leicester, I mean, yeah, maybe I can't see a team with difficult run going in. City have got a difficult run. Look, they've got Chelsea and Arsenal. You really want
to play this on Guardiola, don't you?
Well, look, they've got Chelsea and Arsenal, so they could suffer defeats in that. We could drop them down, and then they're below Newcastle, Liverpool, and Spurs at that point.
See, I think it's more likely that we end up using it on like Emery at Villa, because they're really struggling with Champions League rotation, aren't they? As soon as they get knocked out of that, and they can focus on the league, because they're what, like 10th or 11th in the league at the moment.
Right.
So if they're still down there,
they're not. They're about 7th or 8th. They're only just behind Forest.
Have they climbed up with the win against?
They're on level points
they were
Forest,
12th,
so.
I think.
No. But yeah, I mean this is what we got to look for. Is like, is there a team that's going to drift?
Oh, they're up to 6th now, bloody hell.
Yeah. So
that win really took them up.
It's 5th versus 6th on Saturday. Yeah, is there a team that drifts away that we then back to revive themselves against teams that are 5? But I mean, I don't know. I there's so much to unpack. I'm looking forward to all the content that other people will do, because we haven't really had time to give it too much thought and go into it. I'm shocked at the level of change, though. I really am. And that has caused the reaction we've seen, where some people really aren't keen at all. It is jarring. There's no question. And it's like, need to sleep on it. We're going to obviously talk about it a lot more in future shows, there's no doubt. It's great for us in terms of doing content because there's lots of strategies to unravel, of course. So, should we leave it there, or do you want to say any more about it?
No, I think that's covered it all. We'll be talking more about it as we get closer to 24.
I guess because we're quite a way in, we should talk about our sponsor.
We probably should have done that at the start. That's normally good sponsor etiquette. Yeah. It's fine. No, sponsor for this week's episode is Manscaped. Thank you to them who are sponsoring us for a show every month. If you're a first-time listener to this show, you might be thinking, "Oh my god, these two men are talking about shaving my balls." But if you're a regular listener, you know it's some of the best bits, some of the best work we do. Mark, to be honest, are these sponsorship. Like plugs for Manscaped. So
I do love a Manscaped ad because we get to talk about
your cleaner coming in and finding all your
exactly. Yes, and it's there's no doubt good time of year to invest, isn't it? Maybe a gift for someone you know.
Absolutely, and the range really is expanding. I mean, you can see from the graphic there. There's a new shaver out now which does your for your beard, which I use, and then there's another one which you can use for like your neck or to clean shave, but it's like an electric one. So if you're sick of using, I don't know, Harry's shavers or whatever, or Gillette or whatever, you can get in this new into the new tech. There's also the classic ball trimmer.
I was going to say, when are you going to get to the nether regions? Yes.
Of course, the nether regions. They do all different like ball deodorants. They do like soaps. They do a loofah thing that I use. So it's not just about shaving your balls. It's all the different products.
Do you have anyone in your life who needs balls deodorant?
If I do, I don't want to know them anymore. I think would be my claim on
well,
that
if you
one.
do, this is the product for them, obviously.
It absolutely is. 25% off, goes right up until like actually we're in mid-December, so there's probably not a huge amount of time left. You can use our code BlackBox if you like, but I think there's a site-wide deal on it at the moment. 25% off your order, free shipping. Support the channel as well because, as I said, they're a great partner of us. Make sure you're nice and fresh going into Christmas.
Beautiful. Now freshly shaven. Let's move on to our game weeks. Wow. Do you want to talk through yours? 59 points. You got a green arrow up to 1.8 million.
I tell you what, I have not had a more painful day in a while than that Saturday because I'll read through my team. I had a Raya in goal with 2, Hall with 1. Aitnori with 4 and Davis with 1. So once again, very few points from my defence. Rodgers with 2. Palmer, the man, with a captaincy armband after obviously Salah was out. It was firmly on him. Saka with 2. Semenyo with 2. Jackson with 2. Solanke with 6. And Kuna with 1. It was a really crap week. Like it was one player returning and obviously a goal from Solanke, but he could have had a couple in that and an assist. And then, so what's that? Palmer, Solanke and Aitnori, they're my only attacking returns. But oh my God, on the Saturday, I had to watch Bruno Fernandes score, Isak score, Mbeumo get a goal and an assist.
You were in agony on Saturday, weren't you? Because you had no players, did you?
I had Rodgers. My only player was Rodgers, who obviously only got the 2 points, got booked right at the end as well. Had to endure all of that and I was like the only one in any of the leagues who only had one player. Everyone seemed to have someone, like an Isak or a Fernandes or just someone that scored. Saliba obviously getting another goal as well on the Sunday. And it was just a nightmare. I went down to 2.9 million at one point. I know. And I was like, oh my God. And the only thing that could have saved me was Cole Palmer. And he did.
It came in, didn't it? And we'll do the game week review and look at the top scores in a minute. My game week wasn't much better. I came in with 72 points, but in terms of returns, I only got returns from Palmer and Mbeumo and Isak. Everybody else blanked. So it's amazing how when you get a couple of double figures, how it covers up the cracks of everything else. Like one captaincy haul, and suddenly you look, it's a great game week. But you actually analyse it. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blanks. Right?
Yeah. That's same as me, right? We both had 3 players who got points.
Yeah. So it's Flecken 3 points, Kirkes 2, who I signed for a hit, Timber 2, Davis 1, Palmer the captain 36, Rodgers 2, Mbeumo came in for 13, Saka 2, Kuna 1, Isak, who I signed the other part of the hit, got me a return, and Evan Nilsson got me 2 points. Now my hit was Solanke out for Isak, and I took Greaves out for Kirkes. The reason I took Greaves out, because I didn't know if Gabriel was going to play. I didn't know if Greaves would start. And my other defender was, I guess, Hall, who I didn't expect to keep a clean sheet and didn't. So I thought, well, if I get Kirkes, he might keep a clean sheet at Ipswich. And then it means I've got Davis off the bench if Gabriel didn't turn up. Gabriel didn't turn up, so I was rubbing my hands thinking, great, that's paid off. And then, of course, the result was
2-1.
No points from either Kirkes or Davis. So it didn't pay off, but the decision was a good one in that I was protecting myself from having, not enough defenders, basically. Didn't work out though. But I've got to be happy because I've gone up to 1 million. I'm going to call it 1 million, even though I'm not quite in the top 1 million. But,
well, I want to give a shout out to anyone who didn't captain Palmer, because I really feel for you this week. I mean, I saw captains on Watkins, Saka, Jackson. A few people went for. There's Curtis Tout in the chat who went for Jackson. They were all good options.
Yeah.
Like, all of them were good options. All of them blanked. And then you have to watch Cole Palmer get a disgusting 18 points from 2 penalties. I mean, even Haaland, right? If this was the game where if you held Haaland for this long, you must have been licking your lips that he was finally going to repay some of that faith. 1 goal.
Did you think? Yeah, but a Palace isn't an easy game, is it? It's not. It's never been an easy game in any season. Okay, maybe it's slightly easier this season because Glasner's been kind of struggling. But I mean, not many teams go there and win 3 or 4-0, and it's a tough place to go. And so, I think I said to you, are City at a level where Haaland's getting hat-tricks at the moment? Because unfortunately, the way Salah, Saka and Palmer are playing, Haaland can't just get 1 goal. That's not enough, because one of those 3 mids is going to get a double-figure return. And if you got Haaland, not only do you not have one of those 3 mids, but you're probably captaining Haaland because you're drawn to the, why am I paying 15 million and not captaining him?
Yeah.
So it's a double blow, isn't it? And
that's why I got rid of him a few weeks ago.
It's the dominance of those 3 mids, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not going to captain him over the next couple of weeks. I've already got captain dilemmas, who to pick between Palmer, Salah and Saka each week. I think other people might even have a dilemma with Isak as well over the next 2, given they've got Leicester and Ipswich. All of those options are better than Haaland at the moment, to me. Be interesting to see how they get on in the Champions League tonight.
It's crazy how he's dropped off, and it's crazy how dominant those midfielders are in terms of goal involvement for their clubs. I just did not expect Palmer, Saka, Salah to be 60% involved in their team's goals. Like maybe one of them would be 60, maybe Palmer, because I think he was high last season. Saka, I thought, would share with Havertz and other players there, Trossard and Gabriel and Odegaard's back now. Maybe so the points would be shared there. But he's like 60, 67, 68%. And Salah is just at 70%, I think, goal involvement for Liverpool. And we expected Diaz and Nunez and Jota and Gakpo to have a share. They haven't really impacted, have they? And so the degree in which those 3 have dominated has coincided with Haaland dropping off. It's just been a perfect storm of misery for those who held them.
2 more penalties in a game.
What did you make of them? What did you make of the pens? I mean, here he is at the top of the game.
In terms of were they pens or in terms of the actual technique?
Yeah, no, but were they pens? They weren't soft, were they? They were definite pens, I thought.
Yeah, clear pens. Yeah, no issue with those. And you just have 100%. Even when Salah steps up, there's a bit of you that's like, "Ooh, is he going to score?" When Saka steps up, you're like, "Is he even going to take it? He's going to hand it over to
Odegaard, to
Raya or someone." You never really know of him. Yeah. You know when Palmer steps up, he's going to bang it in. And that Panenka he scored for the second one was just disgusting.
It was indeed. Palmer at the top of the game week review, 18 points from 0.76 XGI non-penalty.
That's without the penalties as well. Top of the mate.
So he
had that miss, didn't he, where it came to him and he just couldn't get it out from under his feet.
Yeah. You can't say that he didn't also have the XG to support a big return as well. It's not like he was peripheral. He wasn't. He had 8 shot involvements, which is top on this table, right? So of all the players in the top 30,
you just haven't sorted it again.
No, for shot involvement, he's had 8 shot involvements there.
Oh, what's it sorted by?
It's sorted by points. The first column, 18 points.
Ah, my apologies. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but in terms of chances created plus shots, he's got 8, which is more than any other player on the table.
Yeah.
So even though you can say, well, he was lucky to get the pens, if you give Palmer 8 shot involvements, he's going to get a couple of returns at least, isn't he? It's difficult to argue against the Palmer Hall, really, even though the pens were pens and whatever. Mbeumo, 13 points. Came good. We're going to talk about Mbeumo later. Is it enough to save him in our teams?
There's a good comment from Samumi, which is the game is now basically who finds the best players outside Salah, Saka and Palmer that everyone has. We were talking about this, weren't we, in the cry room with Luke and Andy. Everyone talks about how this is like such a great season, and I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. I've said that for a while, and I think that's just because it is that. I think you just get those three, and then the rest is just like almost dross, and that confirms it when you look at players around. I mean, okay, like we both had a couple of returnees, but I'm not feeling that excited about anyone going forward. Really, there's just no one that I really like the look of. It's all just a bit. Even Kuno, who was my boy, even he's gone completely off the boil now. Do you not see opportunity elsewhere? I mean, this show was going to be about a player like Anthony Gordon. We were going to call this Gordon's Alive, and I'm going to talk about Gordon in a bit. I think I look at his next two fixtures, and maybe next three, and think, well, that's a player we can get on with the Mbeumo slot. I do think the forward slots and the Mbeumo slot are like the comment said, are now quite critical because everyone's got the free mids, always getting the free mids. Defenders, yes, there's variation there, but the trouble is most people have got a double Arsenal and a Liverpool, and there's not too much room for variation. So impactful variation is low because there aren't clean sheets about, and there aren't, unless Vardiol goes mad as a differential, then that could shake things up. But it's really the Mbeumo slot because most people have got Rodgers and the free forwards, and I think how we use those slots over this period is going to be the key. And it depends whether you're going to be brave for those slots or you're going to be patient and go, no, I'm going to sit with the players I've got. Yeah, I think it's just a real shame that Haaland hasn't continued, because I think if Haaland, if you had the three mids and you had Haaland, then we've got a really exciting season, because you can have all four, but then you're really going for dross options. Yeah. If Haaland had carried on the way he was going, I think that would have been really interesting and would have created a real variation. Whereas there just isn't really that much variation. It's like Kuna versus Pedro, Mbeumo versus Bowen, and I don't know. It's just a bit meh.
I don't mind that. I mean, the Mbeumo, Bowen, Gordon. I don't mind. I think these are players who go. Look, I mean, you look at Gibbs White's got 13 points. Bowen got 12 points. That's impactful. That's rank changing. Like if you get Bowen's 12 points this week, you're not 1.8 million. You're about 1.1 million. You're up 700,000 places. So 12 points. Not to be sniffed at. So I don't think
true. The Bowen one was nice, because I know a lot of people swapped Mbeumo out a few weeks ago, for example, for Bowen, and that looked like a bad decision up until Bowen scored on Monday night. I was actually really happy to see him in return, even though I haven't got him. I think that was a nice punt. People deserve to be rewarded for that.
I mean, Bruno's come good as well. Another 9 points for him, even though that was in a defeat. But I mean, for those who've kept patient with him, they've been somewhat rewarded. I think Slippers said, what was it, 49 points over 6 game weeks, and fair enough, he delivered, hasn't he? So, I mean, Chris, I'm talking about sitting still on your forwards. Those who sat still on Chris Wood, those who sat still on Raul Jimenez, 8 points from both of them. A lot of people would have sold those two.
Ben Crellin with Raul Jimenez off his bench. That's when you've got
the
magic touch.
Yeah. It's we haven't talked about obviously the impact of the Salah postponement, of course. I guess
that feels like ages ago, doesn't it? Now
yeah,
it does. This new chip news.
I guess that underlined the fact that having a bench that you can call upon and have a decent player like a Raul coming off can really help you. And I think we're going to see more. I mean, that's why part of the reason why I've taken hits to boost the squad to the level where I've got 3 active bench players that I can call upon. I think we're probably going to need it over this period.
I almost feel it's like it's the opposite. I think it showed people that the bench options and the cheap options are all rubbish. I mean, I had Hall coming off my bench for 1 point. I mean, did anyone get any points off their bench this week? Like good
Ben Crellin.
Good points?
Well, yeah, but
apart from Ben Crellin,
defenders coming off the bench are never going to be impactful, are they? That's the thing. You want a defender who plays on the hope that he gets a clean sheet, or if it's 8-0, he gets an assist or something. So people got 3 or 4 points off 8-0.
I mean, if you had Pedro on your bench, Rodgers on your bench, Strand Larson on your bench, all blanked. I'm negative today.
You are very negative. But there's players here, like people would have had Vardy, Wood, like I said, Raul on the bench, maybe, Wissa, maybe. I mean,
you mentioned. Do you know Jelena got Wood and Milenkovic off a bench?
Well, there you go. See,
yeah, I talk about no one got any points. Yeah, she was one of them. He definitely did.
Wow, Forest did her a favour there, didn't they? Really did. Great and the good. Let's look at that. You're slipping down into the relegation places. Look at it though at the bottom. It's BlackBox favourites Luke, Andy below you, keeping you out of the relegation places.
Seb went ahead of me after Saturday, but then I had Palmer come in.
It's close down there, though. You better look out. You don't want to be bottom, do you? Because
not again. I can't handle
the
it again
teasing
after
will be
last year.
merciless if you go bottom.
Oh, I've been in and around my best spell this season was I climbed up to 800k in game week 10, and then it's just been a slow decline back down to 1.8. I can't believe I got a green arrow this week though.
Yeah,
so I'm
look at the green arrows though. Everyone got a green arrow other than Seb in the Great and the Good League. So that shows you that. Because it's the Palmer dominating the captaincies. Only late riser and Luke and Seb went elsewhere. Haaland and Saka. And that obviously made a massive difference. And the captaincy this week is a real dilemma, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the show, of course. Let's start looking at some data, shall we? Let's look at defence. I've got some notes to refer to here, I remember. So, not too much to take from the season data. Surprised still to see Villa up there. 1.08 XG conceded non-penalty per 90. Forest fourth, dropped a little bit. Bournemouth is a team we're going to talk about a lot over this team data, because I was quite shocked to see them fifth in this table for XG conceded non-penalty per 90, 1.22. Fulham, I'd always felt were a strong defence this season, but Bournemouth have really sneaked in there. And nothing too much to talk about at the bottom there, other than perhaps Spurs 14th is surprising, Brighton 13th a little bit surprising. Did you expect the Brighton defence to be better, or did you think under Hurtsler that would be a sacrifice?
No, I think that's kind of what I'm expecting to see after what I've seen. I did think when he first joined, I thought maybe he would tighten us up a little bit, but we are still a very front foot gung ho type side, and he hasn't kept the same 11 once all season, which I don't think lends itself particularly well to things like clean sheets. Defence has had injuries. Kadioglu was a key man. He's been out for ages. Dunk was out for ages. Eagles come in. Van Heck was out for a bit. Steele started to see. It's been constant change and chopping and changing around the team. So, no, I'm not too surprised. And we aren't a team where I think we're going to keep a lot of clean sheets going forward. So, I do look at Verbruggen, and because Raya isn't exactly doing great, and I do think maybe that could be a downgrade, like 5-6 to 4-5. But really, I don't think we're going to keep many, so it's probably an avoid.
Sure, a few weeks ago you were tipping Verbruggen as the 4-5 to go for, but never mind.
Well, I still think he probably is, given the fixtures. Who else is there at 4-5 that you'd go for?
Well, we'll look at keepers in a bit.
Kepa potentially at Bournemouth.
Yeah, Kepa I think would be my choice, but we'll have a look at that. Let's look at last six, because this gets more interesting from a perspective of Bournemouth. They leap up to third over the last 6 matches, and they've had fairly easy run. Everton are second, and Everton 0.96 behind Arsenal 0.72, and then it's Bournemouth 1.11. Liverpool and Manchester United have leapt up to 1.15. So defensively, they've been sound, although their fixtures have been fairly easy, as you can tell by the shade of blue there. Down at the bottom, it's incredible. City, Spurs, and obviously Southampton, as you probably would expect. But to see City and Spurs bottom 3, mad, isn't it? Maybe not. It is crazy. Maybe not. The eye tests have shown it, though, hasn't it?
No, it's mad in the sense that you wouldn't expect them to be down there because of how big teams they are. But it completely relates to what I'm seeing. That Chelsea Spurs game was just.
Oh yeah.
It was just 2-0 up. There's no Spurs are 2-0 up in that game, but they don't have any ability to change style of play, do they? And actually just not drop deep. I'm not saying put 11 men behind the ball, but try and control the game a bit and manage it. They chance after chance after chance conceded. It's not going to work for Ange. That policy. It's too much. There's no. there's no plan B, and teams are just working it out. They're going to lose loads more games by heavy defeats this season.
If you look at the big chances conceded per 90, so, it's 4 big chances conceded per 90 for Spurs, 4.5 for Man City. Easily the biggest, well, other than Southampton, the highest in the division over the last 6. So it's like when those two teams are conceding chances, they're conceding high quality chances as well, which is why the XG is low. And that's because they both play a risky game defensively with a high line, and they're both prone to counter. And it's manifested itself in them conceding chances and goals. So whether it will change, we don't. I mean, they've got Romero and they've got Van der Ven back, but then they lost them in that game as well. I mean, that was the other thing. It's like a lot of question marks about Ange in terms of changing his tactics, but did he bring those two back too soon? It looks that way, and now have they lost them for longer? And is that going to have? Yeah, it was a nightmare outcome, wasn't it, for Spurs?
Yeah, and like you can't, like, Romero's a great defender, but Van der Ven, I think, is the key in that. You like the way they play and the way they try and still play the same when they haven't got Van der Ven, even though he's the pace and the speed and the guy who can rescue you from trouble when you get into it. Just seems crazy to me. Dragason's been all right, like in some of the games I've seen him play, but he's, if he's paired with, I mean, Gray was a centre back for a bit, wasn't he, in that game?
He started at full back. I don't know if he filled in.
I think he moved. Or maybe it was the game before. I remember he moved over to centre back at some point. But I mean, if you're having to shift bloody Archie Gray into centre back, you're gonna concede chances.
They want him in midfield, don't they? That's the thing. They signed.
He's a great player. I really like Archie. I think he's going to go and have a really, really big career. But yeah, you can't have him playing at centre back. It's ridiculous.
Interesting. United and Wolves are up there. That really surprised me when I saw that. United 5th in the table, 1.15. Wolves 6th, 1.19. But Wolves have had the best fixtures over the last 6. That's why they're there. You haven't really seen that, and we haven't had clean sheet returns from Aït-Nouri to go with his attacking potential. Got the assist on Monday night, but again conceded. I don't think we're investing either of those two defence. I mean, United against Forest just conceded. Nana had a nightmare, didn't he? So I don't think there's anything to see there. But Bournemouth are really interesting as a team, because when we look at attacking data over the last 6, they're at the top. So 2.37 XG non-penalty per 90 over the last 6 with middling fixtures. 4.83 big chances per 90 is the highest on show here. It's surprising, isn't it? They've come from nowhere, really. They're having a good season and they're well placed, but data-wise, I'm shocked as to how well they're doing.
It's like it's the kind of direct opposite of like Man City, isn't it? Like they're playing so much as a team and for each other. And if you look at the individuals in the squad, it's hard. There's no real, like, Semenyo's a good player, but he's not like a elite like player, is he? Evan Nilsson looks decent and a good player, but these aren't like world-class talents. But the way the team is set up gets the most out of so many.
Well, they win a lot of ball high up, don't they?
Yeah, and they know how to play to each other's strength. They're a great team to watch. I'm still amazed that we managed to beat them at their ground. Honestly, I think that is such a big win for Brighton, because I think any team is going to go there and they'll concede chances, because I really like what Iriola's building. They're a good team. I think we should all be definitely considering their assets as a priority, especially with West Ham at home next.
Yeah, and we talked about United surprisingly doing well defensively, but last 6 in attacking terms, right down there. 0.94 XG non-penalty per 90 in between Forest and Southampton. Forest, I mean, they've had difficult fixtures. Whereas United's fixtures haven't been that difficult, but in attacking terms, they're not producing the numbers, which tempers that kind of investment in the bounce. I mean, we've seen a little bit of bounce from Amorim, but I think obviously the Forest game has brought them a bit down to earth. And I don't think the fixtures are particularly kind to them. City next, obviously. Bournemouth at home would be really tough. Okay, Wolves away, they can get something there. Newcastle at home, what Newcastle are going to turn up, we don't really know. And then it's Liverpool away. So that 5 over Christmas up to game week 20, I don't know if I'd be holding Fernandes for that, even though he's done well of late. What do you reckon?
Man, you are just such a funny team, aren't they? I mean, I don't want to go on a massive tirade about them again, but if this is going to be another manager who can't, and it's going to be another one of I need time, trust in the process.
Oh, he does, yeah,
and all this, but he's come in. He's trying to play a completely different system with players. You know, he hasn't messed around at all. He knows the way he wants to play with the three at the back and everything like that. Rashford's been dropped. I thought he started off quite well. I look at the quality of like Højlund and other players and like Garnacho. I don't really know what their ceiling is. Like, how well is he actually going to do this season at that club? No. I mean, they're like a top 10 side now.
Yeah, I mean, Diallo's the only one that would tempt me because of the price.
He looks good. Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah,
but he's playing at wing back half the time.
Yeah, but he's still getting forward enough. I looked at the average positions in the Forest game, and he was the most highest player up the pitch. So there's no question they're using him as a weapon. His pace and his pressing is really useful to them. And you know, if you're looking to free up cash in Mbeumo to Diallo, and then you spend the cash on Trent, it's valid, right? I think that's not a bad move. But given this data, what can we expect from United? Maybe over those fixtures, as we said, not easy. And maybe City, maybe that'll be the turning point. Maybe they go there, City are going to give them chances. Maybe that'll be the turning point, and Amorim will bounce on from that. But it hasn't quite happened yet. Keepers, Alisson's back. So Alisson's top of the season data, just from 6 starts in terms of points per 90. 6 points per 90 because he had the 4 clean sheets in those 6 starts. And when I'm looking at Flecken and when I'm going to get rid of him, I am thinking, do I get the cash to move to Alisson rather than go to Raya? Because I've got Timber, I've got Gabriel, I've got Saka, so I'm locked out of Raya now. What do you think about Alisson in terms of an option? 5-4, so obviously cheaper than Raya now, he's gone up. Fixture-wise, Liverpool have got a decent run from game week 18 onwards. They've got Fulham and Spurs, which they could concede in those two. But after that run from 18 to 25, that's the run that's reviving Trent as an option in defence. So is Alisson viable as a keeper?
If you look at Arsenal's run as well from 19, Brentford away, Brighton away, Tottenham at home, Villa at home. I mean, we had this at the start of the season. It's one of the reasons I didn't go for Raya, because I thought, it's some tough games here. Probably won't keep a clean sheet in these. And it's always difficult to move away from him because they're capable of keeping one in any game they play. I'd say that Alisson's too expensive, but he's, like you say, he's less than Raya is. Now, they're pretty similar in terms of likelihood of getting a clean sheet in the game, I'd say. And I don't think we're looking at 3 Liverpool assets or more, unless you're including Slot as one of our assistant manager.
I forgot about that
now, which I guess we have to.
Slot using the Liverpool slot, I guess that is
because it's Alisson, Trent, and Salah, right? I mean, Jota could be an option when he's back potentially, but I'm not totally sure there's going to be too many that want to pair him with Salah. I mean, maybe maybe Konate when he's back. I don't know. I think you could get away with it now. Whereas at the start of the season, I said no. I would have said no because I didn't think they were going to be that good defensively, and I thought you might want to, go for some other options, but I think you can do it now.
I'm just looking at keepers over the last 6. No one really stands out. I mean, like points per 90, Pickford's top with 5 points per 90. Kelleher, who obviously will make way for Alisson now that he's back. 5 per 90. Then you're going down to Ramsdale, Onana, Flecken's 5th. So I look at this and think Flecken's done all right for me over the last 6 relative to other goalkeepers.
I'm so angry that he got that assist. That was the real killer on Saturday. Forget all the Mbeumo points and Fernandes. Flecken getting an assist.
If it had got a touch off a defender, he might not have got it because you could argue that he was trying to hit the first man. But it didn't. It went all the way through, didn't it? And bounced in front of Nathan Collins.
Unbelievable. I think he's outscored Raya, hasn't he? Now, since wildcard 6.
Well, yeah, points per... Yeah, so this is it. Yeah, points per 90, he has just outscored Raya. So in the same number of minutes, 540, he's got 3.67 to Raya's 3.5. Yeah, so actually, I've done all right there, haven't I? So I can't...
It's ridiculous. I risked, Raya was potentially injured. I took the risk anyway, got the right call, and I should have just gone for bloody Flecken anyway and pocketed the million.
So Raya's got 2 clean sheets. Flecken's got 1, but I guess it's the save points that have... and the assist.
So annoying.
We own Flecken for the attacking return, says Will. We certainly do. Absolutely. I'm here for it. Yeah, I think I am going to look at Alisson, but I guess this links to what we're going to look at with defenders, which is, we talk about Trent almost every other week, and there's a lot of talk about Trent now on Twitter or Blue Sky, where you want to see now. I wanted to ask you where you are on that, because I think I'm resigned to not going now. I think I'm going to look at other defenders. I'm going to talk about a few names in a minute, but probably that means then I'll go Alisson as my keeper and hope that Alisson will get the clean sheets and Trent won't punish me with too many attacking returns. I do feel like there's almost like a lack of short-term memory, and people are going, well, I want to get Trent back because of the attacking returns, but obviously over the season, let's bring up the season data, it hasn't been stellar. I mean, he's got 3 assists over the 963 minutes so far. Now, are you feeling that that's going to, improve markedly and worth the investment? Where do you sit on it?
Well, his data's improved, hasn't it, since when we both owned him? Because I think he was about 0.2, 0.26, something like that, which we were looking at and thinking, there's no way he's worth it with that. And it has gone up to 0.3 now, so it's going in the right direction. But yeah, okay. It's a lot of money, and I think we're reaching a point when the likes of Raul Jimenez, Strand Larsen, I think even João Pedro as well, as these 6-minute enablers, I do just wonder if we need to be thinking about ways to move those up to like your Isaks, your Jacksons, your slightly more expensive strikers, which I think people are going to really struggle to do if they're going for Trent at the same time. I don't think you can, but it's going to be hard to have like Isak, Jackson, Kuna, for example, and then Trent in defence with the 3 premium mids. Yeah. I mean, you could argue you could move Kuna down to someone, but I don't know. I still think there's good value in the strikers and midfield spots, which should do better than Trent. I don't know. I'm not ruling it out, though. I am tempted. I do need someone a bit different, and he is Trent.
Yeah, and I think like we talked about obviously with the mystery chip, we can't call it that now. Obviously with the assistant manager chip.
Yes, man.
Yes, I'm not going to call it that. Obviously with that, he is very useful for like, well, I'll get Trent and then I can downgrade Trent and get the 1.5 and then I can get any manager I want for that period. So he's useful as a player to take into that post game week 24. So was Vardiol, right? Because he's easily downgraded to a 4-5 as well. So I can see the merits of it. And obviously we looked at Liverpool fixtures and there's no question that's a fantastic run. From game week 18 to 25, you look at it and think, well, how many clean sheets are there? Probably, Leicester, United, Ipswich, Wolves, those 4 home games, you'd bank on clean sheets. Maybe United can score. Away from home, yeah, they could easily go to West Ham. They could easily go to Forest and Bournemouth and get clean sheets. They're not easy fixtures, but you could see 1 or 2 there maybe. So over that run, 5 clean sheets maybe. So probably that's the best case scenario, but it's possible. It's possible you get 4 or 5 clean sheets. So the question is, do you go Gomez and hope Konate's still out? Do you go Alisson? Or do you go, no, I'm going all in and I'm going Trent? And that's, I think for me, I'm not going to go with Trent at the moment.
I mean, what we saw earlier in the season was Konate being much better value than Trent. And when he's back and he still offers a bit of attacking threat as well. When is
I don't know the extent of the injury. I haven't checked that for a while. We think it. I mean, when it happened, it looked like it was likely to be 10 to 12 weeks. I thought so.
Okay, so it's not going to be probably this side of the year then.
Don't quote me on that. Means... I haven't checked it, but that was my take.
Okay, I mean that does tempt me a little bit more towards Trent because I don't really want Gomez in my team. It's just a bit.
Well, there's no attacking threat, is there? That's the thing. He's 28.
Konsa could come in at some point and nick a game off him, and it wouldn't be too surprising. Van Dijk at 6'2", potentially. I don't mind that, but I think if you're paying 6'2" for Van Dijk or wherever he is, then you might as well just pay a little bit extra and get Trent. I don't know. I am half tempted, especially because like with Kuna, for example, that's when the fixtures do turn for Wolves and they do turn for Liverpool, so it could be a bit of a switcheroo. I just think there's good value at the moment in those kind of mid-price mids and strikers, which puts me off a bit.
You're right. Kuna's fixtures turn at 19 when they go to Spurs, Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal. I mean, like I don't want to be carrying Kuna into that period, and he is somewhat. He's 6.9 now. I think he maybe even went up to 7, didn't he, the other night? So he is a player you can downgrade.
7-1 he is now.
7-1, okay. But I mean, the other option is you look at someone like Jackson and you upgrade, because Jackson's going to Ipswich 19, Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves. So yeah, it's whether you use Kuna to free up cash or you upgrade. That will decide, I guess, if you're going to be able to stretch the Trent. It's going to be down to that kind of factor.
No one wants Gomez as FPL swap. I think I agree. I think I agree with that, to be fair.
I would argue that, I mean, I've got Kirkes in, and I would argue that in Munoz, he's now showing up as a player that we thought he would be at the start of the season. He was very popular pre-season, then people kind of drifted away from him and didn't end up with him in game week 1. Last 6, he's fourth in his table, 0.37. He's got 2 goals, 1 assist. And if you look at Palace's fixtures, from game week 18 or maybe game week 19, it's really strong. I mean, 19, it's Southampton at home, Chelsea at home, Leicester away, West Ham away, Brentford at home, United away, Everton at home, Fulham away, Villa at home. Now, Palace aren't reliable in terms of clean sheets, but there's maybe 1 or 2 there, certainly in the home games. And it's just Munoz. Munoz is outperforming in terms of data a lot of more expensive defenders. And I just like it. I just think he's there and he's sitting there and he's like, well, I can pick him up and get Alisson in goal, get the Liverpool clean sheets, and hope that Munoz can maybe match Trent's attacking returns. That's, I don't think that's a bad option at all. What do you think?
Geared off my Munoz.
You're already there, are you?
Well, we talked about Kuna and potential exit routes for him. He's the exit route to Aït-Nouri, isn't he? Because, I mean, Aït-Nouri's 4.9 million. He's been kind of getting away with it. I mean, he's been picking up 0 points against Everton and teams like that. When he actually starts a decent run, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. So as soon as I think they've got Manchester United the week after next, I'm very much swapping him out for Munoz then. So I'll be getting him maybe a little bit earlier. Bournemouth away isn't great, but he has got the attacking potential to deliver. And I think if he can stay around 4.7, 4.8 million, he could end up being a season keeper if he carries on the way he is. Because I don't think we're going to get much better value from a defender around 5 million than him.
Yeah, and Palace could always stiffen up. I mean, they've been pretty woeful defensively. I haven't looked at that. Let's look at the team data over the season. They're 11th, 1.38. And then last 6, has it got much better? No, they're mid-table, 1.28. So defensively, they're not weak. They're not conceding lots of high XG chances. So with better fixtures, we could see an upturn in their clean sheet prospects. But it's obviously the attacking potential that Munoz is finally started to unlock. So I think that, I mean, certainly I'd rather go Munoz than look at Porro again, because I just think that, in terms of the XGI, he's more than matching Porro. He's doubling Porro over the last 6. So why would you go back to a player like that? I think the only one that I would look at that could be worth the investment other than Trent would be Vardiol, because I do think that he's got goals in him. I mean, every City game I watch, he's a significant goal threat. Except when he's playing centre-back, which he did at Palace. But when he's playing full-back, he gets forward. It's not hardly a full-back, is it? It's more inverted midfielder and pushing on.
Striker at times.
Yeah, exactly.
Marcus Alonso of old.
So he's the one that I look at. I know you like Kirkes because you wrote an article about differentials and you picked him out. So I'm glad I've got him in. And I think the Bournemouth fixtures, together with their data, we've looked at their data tonight, but it's the home fixtures: West Ham, Palace, Everton, Forest, Wolves. Yes, they've got Liverpool at home, but the other 5 around that are really strong home fixtures. And he's doing bits going forward, isn't he, Kirkes?
That's what you want with him. You want strong home fixtures that you can play him in, and then you can potentially rotate him out and bring in other players for the away games. Like you mentioned, West Ham at home, Palace at home, Everton at home. That's a great 3 in the next 5. For him, and yeah, I definitely expect some returns for him. It's him. If I was picking one now, it would definitely be him or Munoz. I think it's probably quite close, but if you're picking them from game week 16, you go Kirkes because the fixtures are slightly better.
Yeah, I want them both. I mean, Roboball's saying, what about Hussein? I don't know how you pronounce. I need to know how to pronounce it. I couldn't pronounce it in the watch-along. Hoyson, yes, he's top 0.45, but that's on the back of two starts, and he had a very high XG chance, obviously, in that game, in the Brighton game. No, it wasn't the Brighton game, was it? Who did they play? Okay, he scored. But yeah,
Spurs,
Spurs, that's right, sorry. So his XG's warped by that one chance, right? So I don't really think he's a major goal threat, but we've seen Bournemouth's data could be promising in terms of clean sheets. But you've only got to go to an extra, 0.2, and you can get to Kirkes, 0.3. You find it, don't you? You find the 0.3, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Unless you're really, really struggling for money. I think, sometimes it might be you look at your budget and you have literally got 4.3 to spend. He probably is the best option. Maybe Mikalenko, but again, I think with the fixtures, you go for him. So if you're desperate, you go for him. If you've got the little bit extra, you're not talking like 0.5, 0.6, talking 0.3. Yeah, I would definitely suggest go for Kirkes.
Nick Moore asking about Estupiñán. I've raised him a few times with you. You seem very sceptical. He's sitting in a respectable 14th here, 0.19 in the top 10 for chances created, 1.50 per 90. He's looking quite secure now. He's had 6 starts over the six game weeks. Do you still feel with Kadioglu coming back that could be a threat then?
Well, he's looking secure because we've effectively had Veltman and Kadioglu both out.
Right.
So I don't know what's going on with Kadioglu. I don't even know when he got injured. It seems like this is going on for ages. It seems
he's
like
back
it might
on
be a bit
grass,
more...
I think, isn't he?
Is he back on grass? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably still a few weeks away, but I do think he's quite a lot of money, especially when you compare him to Kirkes and Munoz. I don't hate it. I just think it's probably going to be one where you have to deal with in a few weeks, because I still think that the preference is going to be... We look so much weaker without Veltman in the team. Like when he doesn't play, we just seem to concede so many more chances. He's been such a amazing player for us. So as soon as he's fit, he comes back in. So then I think Estupiñán's finding out with Kadioglu for the left back spot, and then we've got Barker coming back in January, who's obviously going to take that place and
you had to mention
make it his own. So just saying.
Database engineer, snappy
them.
name there. Database engineer saying, I'd go Huson over Kirkes. He can be easily benched in away games. I don't know. I think Kirkes is really cementing that role now. I know that Huson's there because of the injury to Zanesi, and he does look nailed. But I don't question Kirkes' start at the moment.
They're both fine. I think they're both going to start pretty much every game. I just don't know. I just think the 0.3, if you're going to spend 0.3, you might as well get the attacking fullback rather than
I think so.
The guy who's... if Huijsen hadn't scored that goal, no one's mentioning him.
No, I agree. Lee saying not worth a punt on a Chelsea defender. And we got Colwell in the graphic, and he's very popular. But I think he's a bit like Gomez, like no real attacking threat. He's 43rd, 0.10. So you're getting a Chelsea defender purely for the clean sheets. But the fixtures are strong. But I look at this and think Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich, Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves. Can we rely on the Chelsea defence there? I mean, yeah, Brentford are poor away from home, so it could well be a clean sheet this time. Everton, yes. Fulham, I think, score, local derby, Ipswich. To be fair, it does look as though the prospects are 3 or 4 clean sheets in this run, up to 22 at least, doesn't it? So you're not tempted by Colwell?
No, 2 clean sheets all season. For Chelsea, and just whenever I watch them play, I mean they're so good going forward. Like their attack is amazing. Their midfield looks really fun, and they create loads of chances. But they look really get at a ball. And can you go back to the defensive stats?
Yeah, what last 6
where they are
or season?
Where they are on that. Let's go for the season.
Okay, defence for the season. Down in 7th,
7. I mean,
1.25.
that is surprising, because that doesn't marry up with what I'm seeing.
Well, you thought it'd be lower than that, did you?
I thought it'd be much lower than that. Yeah. I thought it'd be in kind of like United territory, right down in 12th.
When last 6 they are down in 12th.
I don't trust that.
So last 6 they are down in 12th. So what you've seen 12, recently, they're not conceding chances. 9.50 per 90 is second lowest, but they are conceding big chances. And I've been looking at Sanchez and thinking, shall I make the move for Sanchez? But every time I want to look at him, I think, is he really secure? Is Jurgensen going to get in eventually?
I think he's the reason I don't trust him. Every time I say it, I just don't rate him at all. I just don't trust a defence that has Robert Sanchez in goal.
Yeah,
at the moment,
it's difficult to do, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is. Midfielders, let's have a look at those now and go through. Mbeumo, what do we do? So I've still got him. You haven't got him. For owners of Mbeumo, do you think that 13-point return is enough to hold? Let's have a look at the fixtures and remind ourselves. Brentford go to Chelsea next, then Forest at home, Brighton away, Arsenal at home, Southampton away, then City and Liverpool at home. What do you think?
Sell.
Yeah.
Take your points and run. Run. Newcastle at home was always, I think, going to be the game out of the 6 games where he potentially did quite well. I don't think it should influence people's decisions. I mean, realistically, we know Brentford are. I think they're the second highest scorers at home from Spurs. Maybe even they're the first now. So you're banking on him really in home games. I mean, look at the next home games. It's Forest, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool. Okay, Man City is maybe the odd one there, but the others are like top defences. And then the away games, Chelsea, Brighton, they're tough. I mean, Southampton is obviously a gift for anyone, but I look at those next 7 games and just think, because then it's Palace after that as well.
Yeah.
How many points is he going to get?
Well, I think I go back to the point I made earlier in that there are only a few slots where I think our teams are varied. I think the forwards, I think 1 or 2 defenders, and the Mbeumo slot. And so if you're going to sit on him, but I mean, like, if you're in the top 100k, you're probably going to be conservative. You're going to go, I'll keep the penalty taker and the home game player. Thank you very much. He's like the 5th highest scorer in the game. Why would I sell him? He's on pens, great attacking team at home. I'll back him to score goals against Arsenal, City, and Liverpool and Forest at home. I can see why you do it. If you're where I am or where you are, I think you've to roll the dice, haven't you? Because if you're not selling them in this spell, when are you going to?
Yeah. I think that is the difference. I've forgotten what it's like to be in the top 100k and to be able to just sit and make more tactical decisions. I would 100% be selling, and I did a few weeks ago, and obviously it burnt already. But I mean, we were advising people a few weeks ago to go for Bowen, weren't we? And then we both got a bit cold feet on that, but Bowen's ended up doing quite well. I mean, I much prefer West Ham's run over this period. I would back Bowen to outscore Brentford over the next 5 or 6 games. Given they've got Brighton at home, Southampton away, they've got Fulham at home coming in 21. Okay, it's a tough one with Liverpool, Man City, but there's like 4 of those next 6 games where I think he should get some decent points. The question is though, I mean, if you're looking at players to go to, we haven't exactly got loads of options around 7 million.
Well, I've highlighted
Bowen
some here,
and
right?
Gordon.
And Fernandes, we'll talk about those 2 in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, Bowen really showed up the other night. He's 26 in his table over the last 6 game weeks, 0.44, which is a big jump. I think if you look over the season, he's down in 41st, 0.41. So he's gone up slightly, but relative to other players, he's in the top 30 now and edging up. But he's not in the top 10 for any metric. So he hasn't, he isn't catching the eye data-wise. But there's no question he's a talisman for West Ham. Fixture-wise, West Ham, it's Bournemouth, Brighton, Southampton. Then it turns bad before 2 home games against Fulham and Palace. I don't know. It's a Lopetegui thing, isn't it? It's like they're so up and down. West Ham. They go from sublime to ridiculous. They did well against Wolves, but that's a weak defence. Going to Bournemouth, a strong defence. Are we expecting anything?
He is up front though, isn't he? Now
he is.
Antonio's had the car crash.
But does that suit him? I often think that he's probably better coming in from the right.
True. We've seen it before, haven't we? We have definitely seen this before with Bowen, where we've all got excited because he's playing up front, and then it doesn't really deliver.
I guess he's on pens if Ings isn't in the team and Paqueta's not in the team, and Paqueta wasn't in the team the other night, so that's another thing in his favour that he has an advantage over. And the player that that I would look at an alternative is Gordon, because he's got Leicester and Ipswich in the next 2. And he hasn't had a great season, but he's still above Bowen data-wise, 0.51 over the last 6 game weeks. And it's just those 2 fixtures. If you're not back in Newcastle against Leicester and Ipswich, they are a side a lot like West Ham who go from being impressive one week and absolutely dire the next. But I don't know. I like Gordon over this spell. I think that's where I'm going to go. This show is going to be the thumbnail and everything was ready to talk about Gordon, but then the mystery chip got revealed today and we had to change that last minute. His data's not bad this season. I mean, the narrative is he hasn't done well, but if you look at his XGI non-penalty per 90, 0.47, is actually on a par with last season. And last season he got 11 goals and 16 assists. Just 3 goals and 2 assists so far.
Where did he pull those out of? I still don't understand
he won a lot of penalties, didn't he?
Mm.
And do you not think, though, yes, he hasn't been that impressive to this point, but he has had more big chances this season than last season per 90. He's had 8 big chances so far in 13 starts compared to just 17 in 34. So his rate of big chances improved. Yes, he hasn't converted those, but you've got to think with the 2 fixtures coming up, Leicester and Ipswich, this is the time to take a chance on him, isn't it? If we look at the defensive data over the last 6, Leicester are 17th, 1.92 XG non-penalty per 90. Ipswich just above them, 1.62. I don't think under Ruud van Nistelrooy Leicester have improved defensively. I think, if anything, they're more open than ever. What do you think?
Some concern with his minutes, though. I mean, he played 30 minutes
he was
against
benched
Brentford.
the other day, wasn't he?
He hasn't played 90 minutes since game week 7. They've got the cup match.
Yeah, but that's where Barnes starts, isn't it? That's what I'm thinking.
What, you don't think they go full strength in the...
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
It's the quarters, isn't it? Not the semis.
Yes, it's not the semis. No, I don't think that. I don't think they have to play Gordon in that game. They're not. You're right. He's not going to play those 3 games. He's not going to play the 2 league games and the midweek game. So there's a chance that if he does play midweek, he then doesn't play the following fixture. But I think that they'll rest him in the cup game. Do you not?
I don't know. I think they might go all out for that, given that they're struggling a bit in the league and they want to get the fans on side. I think they're going to want to go full strength potentially in that. It's hard to call. I don't know. I don't even know what Gordon's fitness is like or anything. It just smacks a little bit of like desperation to me. Anthony Gordon. I just haven't seen. I mean, the stats. Okay, the stats are interesting. I wouldn't have thought he had that good underlying numbers. Just when I watch Newcastle, watch them play, I just think Isak is so obviously the key man in that. He's the only one really that I have any interest whatsoever. And like Gordon and Barnes and Murphy and all that are kind of, they could do well, but I don't really trust. Yeah, I don't really trust them.
If you look at Gordon's goal
you'd be doubling
season,
up on Newcastle attack.
Yeah, but Isak, against Leicester and Ipswich, 2 of the weakest defences in the league.
But they lost to West Ham at home like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question it's a gamble, but then so's Bowen, really. I mean, you're taking Bowen to Bournemouth, who are like 3rd in the defensive data over the last 6. So I don't think West Ham score many goals at Bournemouth, to be honest, whereas Newcastle could turn it on and get 3 or 4 against Leicester or Ipswich. And his goal involvement last season was 38%, and his goal involvement this season is 36%. The trouble is Newcastle aren't scoring anywhere near as many goals, but we're not hesitating on Isak. So he was the key supplier for Isak in terms of assists. He got 16 assists last season, and a lot of those assists for Wilson and Isak came from Gordon winning penalties, but also crosses. And so if we think Newcastle can win these 2 games by 2 or 3 goals in each, that goal involvement should mean that Gordon returns. Do you not think? At least to keep pace with Bowen or Mbeumo.
Yeah. Would I be? I've been saying that we should sell Mbeumo. Would I be selling Mbeumo for Gordon? You have to do it this week, don't you? Because otherwise you're going to miss out on the 2 good fixtures. I think you've hit the nail on the head with Enzo. I'd be going down to Enzo and using that money to fund something a bit more exciting elsewhere.
Yeah, this is Enzo.
That. It's almost like the plan is.
So the big thing about Enzo is the big upturn in his output. Game weeks 11 to 15, 383 minutes. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists. His minutes per XGI up from 5.14.5 to 1.38.7. Minutes per shot up from 1.20.4 to 120.4 to 48.4. Yeah, he's up for all the key metrics, and the heat maps that we show that he's further forward, both right and left hand side, and he's getting forward more. He's more of a factor. Whether Casado is inverted or in midfield, that seems to have unlocked him, hasn't it? You like him, don't you? I mean, the price is key.
Can I have a little moan? Can I just have a little moan? If the Liverpool game doesn't get called off, right? My transfers were Solanke to Isak, and then this week Dibbling to Enzo, and I put that in the chat with you. I was like, that is exactly my plan. And what I should have done was just done that, both of them for a hit last week.
Yeah.
Because now I'm priced out of it because of the 0.3 rise. And instead, I've now somehow ended up with Semenyo in my team, who I really need to deliver against West Ham. Well, that's going to look like an absolute... Yeah. But it's really annoying because I would have been a little bit ahead of the curve with that. And now I'm seeing people bringing in Enzo. And I'm thinking, yeah, I really like that. I really like that move. I think that rotation with Rodgers just works really nicely. And then it lets you spend a bit more even attack or go for Trent if you fancy a punt on it. I think he's a great pick for the next 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah, because Rodgers has got City and Newcastle 17-18, and you can play Enzo, Everton and Fulham. Not easier feat. No, not easy feat. But Chelsea are, at the moment, when you look at attacking teams, you look at attacking data, they're second to Bournemouth, 2.29 XG non-penalty per 90 over the last 6. So in terms of attacking teams, there aren't many better options out there, and he is a big factor in that at the moment. Do you see the positional change or the linking of attack just remaining to be the case? I mean, why would they change it? Why would Maresca tweak that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a bit of threat, isn't there, with like Lavia, and if he changes things around. But the fixtures are so good, I don't know why he would feel the need to like shore things up. Like he could go for like Lavia and Caicedo in the middle, but in those fixtures, I think you let Enzo carry on the role he's doing, and I think you probably carry on inverting Caicedo from right back because he adds a bit of steel to defence anyway. He's hard to beat, kind of 1-on-1. Maybe in the tougher games they go for a bit more of a defensive setup. I think with Enzo in there, with the role he's got, he's almost got like a free role at times. He just gets forward and bombs up near the box. He's been asked to be the one that creates and has shots kind of in around the penalty area. I think it's a fantastic option.
So you would honestly rather go with Enzo than go with either Bowen or Gordon, would you? Because of what he unlocks money-wise, I guess.
I'd put Gordon at the bottom of that list. I don't mind the Bowen. I still don't mind the Bowen shout. I still think the fixtures are decent enough to consider him. Depending on what you can do with the money. If you can use the Enzo savings, that 2 million, and strengthen, someone else up. Like if you can use that money to get Jackson, for example, from like Strand Larson, then it's a no-brainer because there's like 2.5 million difference in the cost. If you don't really need the money and you do just have some money sitting in your bank, then probably go for Bowen.
What about? I mean, you've got Semenyo. I don't think that's a bad option. We've seen Bournemouth top of the attacking data, and they're excelling. And I've got Evan Nilsson, so I don't know if I want to go in again another Bournemouth attacker. Iwobi, Matoma.
Iwobi is like a different level at the moment. What is going on with him? He looks absolutely incredible whenever I watch him play.
0.42. He's 27th here. Over the season, is he even a factor in the... he's down in 56. So 0.36. So he's actually upped his XG non-penalty somewhat over the last 6. 3 goals, 2 assists and 6 starts. Fulham's fixtures are good enough, I would say. Obviously, over the next 3, they've got Liverpool, Chelsea, but then it's a good run from 19 onwards. Yeah, very good run. So he's not out of the equation, is he? As someone you would get in around that time, you're maybe downgrading Kuna. Maybe you hold Mbeumo till then. You play Mbeumo in the Forest game, then move him off for Arsenal and go.
Yeah, it's just again, it's that bracket, isn't it? Like you say we're just assuming everyone's going to go for Salah, Palmer, Saka. You've got those 2 spots. I still think Rodgers is great value at 5.
Yeah,
and then I think Enzo for this run would be the one I'd consider. Where does Iwobi fit into that?
So the only thing is, I look at the Mbeumo slot and say I want to go for a player who's impactful. And is Enzo? I know he has delivered double figures, but can I trust that to continue?
Enzo. I'll be gutted if you get him and he goes on some great run.
I prefer Gordon or Bowen because I just look at them two and think they could go off with a couple of goals. Whereas can Enzo maintain this? It just seems. Is he really is he another Aaron Ramsey who's just going to go throughout the rest of the season and get another 10 goals? I don't know. Maybe he will, but certainly in that Chelsea team, there's that possibility. But I just would rather go a Gordon or Bowen, I think, with the Mbeumo slot. And
he's got attacking since he lost 5 games.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah. So you're not sold on Gordon. Interesting. Obviously, everything I say in this show, I then change my mind on deadline anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be by God. Bloody Enzo's definitely coming in now, isn't he? Guaranteed.
So, but at the moment, I'm favouring Gordon. I think I'm going to roll the dice on him. Forwards, is there any argument that we need Isak for those 2 fixtures and beyond?
But I haven't got him.
What are you doing about that?
Well, I'm not getting him this week because it would involve selling Solanke, who's got Southampton. So I've got to give Solanke Southampton. I can't be moving Solanke to Isak for a hit and getting rid of it. As much as it pains me because I am sick of owning Solanke, even though he scored that goal, he still managed to frustrate me. I still can't believe he missed that chance when he had the ball and just shot it straight at Sanchez, and he had a decent assist. Do you know what? That was actually one of the best games I've seen Solanke play for Spurs in terms of like an overall footballing performance. But it kind of demonstrated that he's a great asset for Spurs, but not necessarily for us FPL players.
But Spurs just faded second half, didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing. And so he wasn't a factor in that second half at all because Spurs just drifted out of play. But data-wise, he continues to be strong. Last 6, 0.66 behind only João Pedro, Haaland and Watkins, ahead of Isak. But I just look at those two fixtures for Newcastle and I think surely you've got to get on Isak for Leicester and Ipswich.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be getting him for Leicester. I'm just gonna,
Right.
I'm literally just gonna look at it as Solanke and 4 points versus Isak, and just hope that Isak doesn't bang a hat trick and Solanke blanks. I just think the way Southampton play, the amount of chances they give up, particularly around central areas where Solanke's going to be lurking, and he's a great presser.
Oh yeah, I mean they press high, Spurs, don't they? So you'd think that Spurs are equipped to really exploit that weakness.
I would hope so. Yeah. So I'm going to give him that one. After that, I'm banking. We'll talk about my transfer in a minute. I'm hoping to bank the transfer, moving Isak for the Ipswich game. So it's only one more week. I've got to survive without him, but it is annoying watching his price go up and Enzo's and all that kind of stuff. So I think you need to be thinking of ways to get Isak. I just think he's a great option, and I think he's someone who's going to rival those three mids going forward because of his influence on the team. I think the fixtures are really good for him for ages going forward. Absolute talisman, penalties. He's got to come in. Kuna's fixtures dropping off a cliff. Yeah, easy move. If you
and Kuna's data here. He's down 0.37, down in 14th. So he's fallen behind the likes of Raul Jimenez, Mateta, Wissa, Evan Nilsson. I watched it Kuna the other night and I just think he must be so frustrated because the players around him just aren't good enough, are they? That's the thing. He is obviously on a different level to the rest of that Wolves side. And O'Neill's talked about how they're getting him more involved and on the ball. I don't think they did enough of that against West Ham.
I mean, he could have had a couple of penalties though. It could have been another Cole Palmer situation where he looked frustrated and wasn't really that great in sort of for large parts of the game, and then came away from it with a big haul. But yeah, I mean, again, it's big. It's the definition of a big fish in a small pond, isn't it? With Kuna, he's miles ahead of pretty much everyone else in that side.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to our predictions. Before we do, let's talk about Sleeper because the Pick'em League is still going and very much part of what we do with predictions.
Absolutely, and you need to get your practice in to get that assistant, the ass man chip. Get the most out of that. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. There's a QR code on the screen. If you're watching, give it a zap. You can join the BlackBox Pick'em League. If you haven't joined it already, and we're now 16 weeks in, what are you doing? Get involved in it. There's great prizes, free to play, no gambling, no way to deposit money, and you can win a prize up to £500 just by being the best Pick'em predictor of the month. So scan the code. There's a link in the description below if you haven't clicked that already. Obviously, we're into December now. It's monthly prizes. So use the rest of December to have a bit of a feel, work out how things are going. To be fair, only one week in, you might make a miraculous comeback. But give it a feel and hit it hard in January and try and win one of our great prizes.
And on our predictions for our predictions league for the patrons, we're almost level now. Look at that.
Catching you up.
108 to 106. You've got correct outcomes 51% of the time. I've dropped to 50. That's really hurts, actually. I only ahead on correct scores 11% to 10. Everyone's around 50 now. Look at this. Even at the top, Hesmo, Hotline, 52, 53%. So, as we said before, that's the success rate you can expect. What have we predicted this week? Let's have a look.
I was just on that. I was going to say that the best thing about that is we don't have to make the table like 25 names long anymore because I was so far behind.
We're getting squeezed up. You were drifting away, but I'm glad you've caught up.
Caught it up.
Absolutely.
Caught it up.
Let's go over these games then. Do you want to read through these then, Az? Take us through it.
Yeah, Arsenal-Everton, games at 3. Oh, there's no 12:30 game.
No.
Again. Oh, I hate that. I hate
no midday trip
3.
to the garden centre possible.
Rubbish. It's Arsenal-Everton first. We've both gone for 3-0 in this. What do you make of Gabriel? We haven't talked about him. He's not in the squad for Arsenal tonight. You've got Timber. I think he's on the bench.
Yeah.
Any concerns about Gabriel?
Yeah, I think it's likely that perhaps he's not going to start against Everton, isn't it?
Muscle injury, they're saying.
It's worrying. I mean, I'm not going to sell because we need more information. The problem is we're relying on Arteta, aren't we, to give us regular and reliable updates, and we're never going to get that. So you need a bench, right? So I don't want to sell him because I've got some money tied up in him, and I think he's a player that you want back because of the goal threat and obviously Arsenal's clean sheet potential. One of the reasons why I got Kirkes last week for the hit was to make sure that I had backup in defence, and I can get through this week and perhaps the next one as well. So I'm all right. So I'm going to hold. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, we've both got Leif Davis, haven't we, who can kind of come off the bench, and he's been really disappointing because we've actually both been playing him the last few weeks, and he hasn't really delivered. And I think it was his lowest XGI so far this season, maybe, in the game against Bournemouth, which was a shame. But Wolves are the worst team for defending set pieces.
They are.
In the league. And I do actually fancy him in that, so I will probably be holding him, and if Leif comes in, then I'll just take that. Yeah,
and if you've got Greaves, it's really betting on whether he displaces Burgess in that Ipswich defence, but he could be a real threat from the set plays because 8 goals they conceded from corners, Wolves, and I think, every time I've watched Ipswich, Leif Davis looks likely to get an assist from a corner because he whips in some vicious balls. They just haven't really...
Just can't convert them. Yeah. It's been the story of his season. Just hasn't had the players around him that can convert. He's created so many chances.
Yeah. Vicious balls, back to Manscaped. No, I'm joking. So Arsenal, Everton, we both gone 3-0.
Yeah, but should be absolutely routine, right? For Arsenal. Just can't see Everton putting up a fight.
Captain Saka. We'll talk about captains in a minute, but yeah.
3 good captain options this week.
You've gone 2-1, I've gone 3-1, which would make me think that you're perhaps not siding with Salah there. You're being a bit more cautious. The Fulham defence is strong, and it will be difficult for Liverpool, but I think that they will need a third to see them off because I do think Fulham score. Okay, Newcastle-Leicester, we've both gone the same outcome here. It's a home win. You've only gone 2-1, I've gone 3-1, hence my leaning towards Gordon as an option. I think if Newcastle score 3 goals, I'm surely getting something out of Gordon as well as Isak.
A hopeful 2-1 from me. Please just stay quiet, Isak.
You've gone 2-1 Wolves. I've gone 2-2. I think Ipswich will get something from this game. But we're both going as Kuna owners, very hopeful there. No clean sheet for Norway again. Agree on this one.
He's going to go, isn't he, O'Neill, if he doesn't win this, surely?
Yeah, you got to think so. We agree on the Forest Villa game. I'm taking Billy to this for the 5:30 kickoff.
Oh, lovely.
It'd be good. I think 1-1 is I had a look at Rob's data. We'll have a look at that later when we look at captains. You can't break the teams up. It's the most obvious 1-1 draw ever, isn't it? This one. So,
this was the easiest result, I think, to call. I just think this has got draw written all over it. I think if either team wins this, they'll be absolutely delighted.
Yeah.
To get the 3 points in this.
Villa. What gives me some hope is Villa might be a bit fatigued after Europe, but and that's been a factor. But I think we'll take a point. Villa are a good side, and I'll be very happy with a point. Brighton Palace, it's the derby. Is it okay to call it a derby? Yeah, okay. The 2:00 kickoff. So even though the fixture looks a bit dire on paper, you're not going to go to the Garden Centre for this one. You've gone 2-0, I've gone 2-1.
Can't go to the Garden Centre for Brighton Palace. It's huge.
What do you think about Eze back? We didn't talk about him when we looked at midfielders. Mbeumo to Eze? No?
Yeah, maybe. I think it's maybe a little bit too early for that. I think the fixtures, like we talked about, turn in a couple of weeks. I'd probably just stick with Mbeumo because there's not much in it in the fixtures. That's what you want. You want to try and get a fixture swing or something because otherwise Mbeumo's a decent asset with penalties. Yeah. Not quite yet.
So you think Brighton,
just one player we haven't mentioned is João Pedro. And obviously there's a lot of investment in him. He did start all the 3 matches I thought he would, but is obviously still getting subbed off around the 70-minute mark. He's just so much more effective playing in that 10 role as well, and not as a kind of out and out 9. I think he's a good asset, but I do think there's going to be a few that get a bit frustrated with him if he doesn't start getting some points. As they would with anyone, but
I think the fact that he's coming off on 70 minutes means that if he hasn't got anything for you in the first half, you're thinking, I've got 20 minutes left, and and he is playing. Yeah, he's not playing the central striker role because it seems Welbeck or Ferguson are taking that. They've got so many options in wide, and Minte came back and scored, didn't he? So he's now back in the frame as a potential starter. And you are going to worry that eventually he's going to get benched again over the festive period. So, but it's the price, isn't it? You're paying for the price and the pens. So I think you're patient for now, but there's potential in this derby game. I think they, João Pedro can return in that.
The next 3 are really good, and you hold him for those. But then again, you're into a 3 game week spell in less than a week, and I think that might be the time when it might be time to move off him.
Yeah, but you've got to be able to bench him, haven't you? You've got to have a player who can come in for him. City United, you've gone 2-1. I've gone a goal fest. I think defensively, both of these teams are going to get found out. I'm hoping they just go toe-to-toe and it's an absolute goal-fest thriller. 3-2 for me. You've gone 2-1, more conservative. But, yeah, another I think City win. I just... It would be great for Amarin to get a victory here to really get the bounce going. But I think I'm just edging on City's side.
It won't be a draw. I'm going to say that. It's definitely going to go.
It's not a
one way or
0-0, is it? No way.
Hard to call which way. I bank City just because they're at home, but United could win it. It's a great time to play them. They're losing 2-0 again tonight against Juventus.
Right. Chelsea-Brentford, home win. The way Brentford travel, you just can't see them pulling anything off here.
Bloody goals in this one. Goals.
You've gone 3-1, I've gone 2-0. And Southampton-Spurs, identical outcome, identical score, 3-1. I think, Spurs defensively without Romero, without Van de Ven, we presume. I think we'll ship one, but I just think, it's at least 3 goals at the other end.
See, I can't lose Solanke, can I?
No.
Away at Southampton.
No.
Got to hold one more week.
And then if you can find a garden centre open at 8 o'clock on a Monday, and I think you can with Santa about, Bournemouth, West Ham seem the obvious choice. Do you not think?
With West Ham.
Yeah. And we both got.
All I want for Christmas is a bloody Monday night game I want to watch.
I don't know. I mean, if you're I've got Evan Nilsson, Kirkes. I'll probably start them both, and I'll be watching it if that's the case. I just don't see any joy for West Ham here. I've gone 2-0. You've gone 2-1. Yep. And that's the Garden Centre game. Let's look at captains. It's tough this week. Yeah. What are you thinking? I mean, this is the week really when you can roll the dice, because the smart money will be on Palmer at home to Brentford, no question. But Saka at home to Everton, Salah at home to Fulham, Isak at home to Leicester, all viable, right?
Solanke away to Southampton. No, I don't think anyone's going there. Yeah, really tough week, really interesting. I think Salah was the kind of... If Salah had played against Everton and scored another brace, I kind of don't think anyone's even considering it. They're just going for Salah again at home to Fulham. But now that hasn't happened, and I look at... I'm not really considering Saka as much as I think Arsenal are going to win that game.
Is it just ceiling with him?
Yeah, I still have a slight question mark around the C. It's been a couple of blanks for him now. I've kind of lost a little bit of confidence in him. I saw Brentford defend against Newcastle, and I've seen them defend away from home this season. I just cannot see any way in which Chelsea don't score multiple goals.
You say that, right? But Brentford went to Fulham and did nothing and just tried to keep it tight and come away with a point. Then they went to Everton and had a man sent off.
And were terrible at it.
Well, I don't. Were they? I mean, they conceded 2 goals at the end at Fulham, but I don't think
it was last-ditch defending multiple times. It didn't look solid. It wasn't like Arsenal when they went down to 10 men against Man City and really limited the amount of chances they were getting. It was backs against the wall from like 40 minutes in.
I think what I'm saying is I expect Frank to go to Chelsea and not try and go toe to toe, but to actually play free at the back and try and come away with a point. Like, he's not. It's funny. I saw him interviewed after the last home win, and they asked him, why do you think your away form is so much worse than your home form? And he went, I don't know. And I'm like, surely surely there's a tactical element to it. And it's almost like he didn't want to say, well, that's because when I go away from home at the moment, I'm basically playing for a point. He's not going to say that, but I think that's what I've seen against Fulham and Everton. I've seen him be more conservative in those 2 games because he wants to try and end this run of bad results away from home. And the first thing you do there is go, well, let's not concede. So I think he has tried to tighten up in the last 2 away games.
I don't think they can tighten up.
You don't think they can?
The players to do that. And it's almost like trying to make a leopard change its spots. They've got so drilled into this way of playing in this system that suddenly asking them to be this really like resolute defensive side, especially against Chelsea, who arguably is the best attack. I think it's the best combination of attackers in the league at the moment. They've got 1 point away from home all season, Brentford.
Yeah.
That was against Everton, which was a blank. They're gonna get hammered.
So you're going Palmer then? Because Palmer's like got 60 odd% goal involvement.
Going Palmer. Yeah, haven't really questioned it at all. I think there's great options, and I don't really blame anyone for going elsewhere. But I'm definitely on Palmer.
I mean, Rob T's graphic highlights for the first time I've seen 5 games, 5 teams to score more than 2 goals. Arsenal, Newcastle, City, Spurs, Chelsea and Liverpool all predicted to get well over 2 goals. I mean, City are the lowest of those, and even Bournemouth are predicted to get more than 2 goals. So it's saying there's going to be a lot of goals right in this game week. That's what the spread betting is saying. And by the way, at Rob T FBL, go and follow him. Great stuff. For me, I look at this and think I'm tempted by Salah, but the Fulham defence is stronger. But it is Salah who seems inevitable. If I'm going to go against Palmer, it probably is going to be to Salah. I wouldn't go Isak because he's the forward, less points, no clean sheet points. Salah could come away with a clean sheet against Fulham. Brentford could score at Chelsea. It does feel like it's a Palmer week again, though, doesn't it?
I would just like to say that we are idiots for considering going against Salah.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah, but we are. But we're going. I'm 1.8 million in the world. I'm going to do it because he will have lower EO than
do you
Salah
think?
Does.
Do you not think that the popular vote will be with Palmer after the 18 points?
The popular vote in the top 100k might be different, but the popular vote of 1.8 million is just. I mean, Salah was still the over 100% EO when the game week was live. I think Palmer was like 70% or something. That's why we got such a big rise from him at our ranks. Salah will be like 140% again.
So you think the most effective option in terms of EO for where we're ranked will be Palmer as well? If
until Salah gets number brace and kills us.
I think I might go Salah. Yeah. I don't know. It's on Palmer at the moment, but I'm thinking I might go against the grain a bit when it comes to the content creators
at the moment. Like absolutely insane.
Just look at the matrix as well. I mean, I haven't highlighted Salah at Spurs in game week 17, but to be honest, you would not. Surely you would consider captaining Salah at Spurs with the injuries they've got. So the run for Salah is fantastic. Haaland comes back into the equation in 18, but I don't think we're going to move back there, are we? Because of the way City are at the moment. So Palmer and Salah are going to dominate our thinking when it comes to the captaincy. Saka less so, I think, because of that ceiling, like you said. But I think we can have some fun over this spell in moving on and off those two. Because
I think we can take Watkins off this list now.
Yeah,
I just don't think he's anywhere near the level. No. In fact, I'd probably replace Watkins with Isak.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I will do that because we're beginning to think that Watkins' start could be under threat. There's starting to be talk of that. He was subbed at half time last night. He's got an injury which could keep him out of Forest. If Duran comes in and starts, he could take his opportunity. Then suddenly it's like, I think you're right.
Really, isn't it? Because Watkins' all-round game is so strong, but it's not. Yeah, he's definitely not getting the same. We haven't got the same trust in him now as we did last season. Definitely.
Saka has scored 2 and got 1 assist tonight. There's Matt Brown for you.
If you could do it in the league, that'd be great.
I mean, that's the outlier, isn't it? Going Saka would be. You can see. I mean, we both predicted 3 goals for Arsenal there, so there's no bad option really, is there? It's just where it's try your luck really, because all 3 of those options, and even Haaland home United, any of them could hit double figures. It's just like it's your appetite for going against the effective ownership, which will be on Salah. I agree. Yeah.
I like them all. I like all the options this week. I just, unless you're completely right and Brentford do completely shut up shop, I just think that Brentford of the 3 are going to be the easiest for the team to play against, and there's not a huge amount in it between them. I like Fulham as a side. I think they're a good team. I think there's more chance of them frustrating Liverpool than there is Brentford against Chelsea. Personally, I could be, and probably am going to be completely wrong. But
you'd think that, yeah. But I just think Brentford might pull a shock out and get a 1-1 draw or something. I don't know. Frank is like I said, when Frank said, "Oh, I've no idea why we're not doing as well away from home." He must know.
He knows. He's a big
does,
stats
right?
man as well, isn't he? He knows
exactly
and
it's not great if your manager's saying that. Yeah, I haven't got a clue. Of course he has.
I'd be happy if he sets Brentford up to defend against Chelsea. I'll be very happy with that.
Because you just think they can't do it. Fair enough.
Can't do it.
So got our teams. This is what you're going in with. Talk us through it for the podcast. At the moment, how many transfers you got? 1?
Just 1.
Right.
I'll be rolling this week, finally. Right. Feels like ages since I've been able to do that. Raya in goal with Gabriel. Davis coming in if Gabriel's not fit. Hall versus Leicester. Ait Nouri versus Ipswich. Salah, Palmer, Saka with Palmer captain. Semenyo, I really need him to start delivering. I feel a bit stupid about getting him. And then my front three, I mean, this is going to define my week. I feel like this is a really, really strong three this week. I know there's no Isak there, but with Jackson, Solanke and Kuna, surely they score some goals.
You've got 11 home players.
Oh, yeah. But surely this team does all right this week.
So if Gabriel drops out, Davis comes in, he could be the only player you play away from home. Yeah, okay.
Well, and no, Solanke's away. Solanke's away at Southampton.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't spot. Yeah, but you'll take that.
Yeah, he counts.
No, I mean, it's strong, isn't it? I mean, I think our game weeks will be defined by where the variance falls with the captaincy, doesn't it? And at the moment, you're going Palmer, yeah.
Or just stupid things like Evan Nilsson gets a hat-trick and Semenyo gets booked and 1 point or something like that.
Well, Semenyo's had his suspension, hasn't he?
He has had his suspension.
Right. Yeah. Right there, but I mean, I look at the algorithms, and I think every team that I've seen on Twitter looks really strong this week. And look at the models, and it's like they're all predicting 60 plus. So this should be a big week in terms of points. Whether it'll be a big week in terms of rank swing will depend on the captaincy and how that falls, I think. It's going
to be a really interesting week. I think it will be a high scoring week. I think it might even be one of the highest that we've seen so far on paper.
I'm going with Flecken at Chelsea, which I'm expecting absolutely nothing from that. Probably even maybe minus
goal and
points.
assist.
Then it's Timber and Gabriel at home to Everton. Kirkes at home to West Ham at the moment. Then Salah, Palmer, Saka and Mbeumo at the moment. Kuna, Isak, Evan Nilsson. So if Gabriel doesn't turn up, it's not Davies who comes off the bench. It'll be Hall at home to Leicester. Right?
No Leaf.
So Davies won't be needed, I don't think, because I'll have Lewis Hall there. And to be honest, it's like, do I play Kirkes? Do I play Lewis Hall? I've not made up my mind yet. So I'll probably make that decision late.
I think I'd go Kirkes personally.
Would you? Yeah,
I think Rude's a bit more gung ho, isn't he?
Yeah, Buonanotte back for Leicester as well. Yeah. Who's their key player in attacking terms. And I don't think West Ham necessarily take a load of goal threat to a Bournemouth team that are defending well. I will go in Mbeumo to Gordon or in Mbeumo to Bowen, I think. It's not going to be Fernandes. I think it's going to be Gordon. I'm going to roll the dice on it, I think.
Enzo confirmed.
It's following a pattern where I've said one thing and done another for the last few weeks. But I will post online. I'm not going to pull all over people's eyes and surprise them after deadline.
I think you've got to go Gordon right after the analysis you've done today, and you've been his champion this week. So I think you've
as long as I think he's fit and not going to get rested again, I think I will go Gordon and roll the dice on that Leicester game and hope it's going to be really open and that Newcastle turn up. But who knows? That's where we are. It's been a strange show because obviously we were going to do one thing and then everything turned on its head today when the chip was announced, which we weren't expecting. And it still hasn't really sunk in. And we've talked about it for 45 minutes and we're not going to go back again. But I think it's safe to say over the next week we're going to see a lot of content on this and more strategies revealed. It feels really odd at the moment. How do you feel?
It is odd. I feel a bit. I don't know. We talked about it earlier. I feel a bit weird about this chip. It's left me feeling strange, and I need some time to process it. Yeah, be very interesting to see how it's used. Whether I want it as like a permanent feature, I'm not. Jury's out at the moment.
Yeah, it's unsettled. I'm unsettled. And I'm just waiting to see what people can make of it with a bit more time. Obviously, I'm going to start looking at that. And obviously, a lot of the accounts and content creators will as well. So let's see what comes out of the next week and come back next week and see what our thoughts are then. But yeah, that was turned on its head today. So a very
we missed you at work and you're like, what are you talking about?
I was like, what? And then, I was leading on Anthony Gordon, but I just felt, we can't do that. That was tenuous as it was with the chip coming out. We had to change the thumb. And talk about it, and we were lucky. We were lucky to be able to. So,
I had a 45-minute talk with you while I was in the bath yesterday as well. That was
you
nice.
Did, yeah. You were in the bath, not me, and that, yeah. We don't do that kind of thing often, viewer.
Good times. That's Patreon-only content.
Yes, it is. That's a completely different channel. 1136 watching us live. Thank you very much for your support. Hit the likes, please. Only 211 so far. So please hit the likes.
That is
outrageous. You're new around here, hit the subscribe button. We will be back next week. where we'll probably discuss more thoughts on the chip and after some strategies have been revealed. And we'll look back at this game week and look ahead to the Christmas period. And then over Christmas, I got the green screen out at the weekend to give it a go to see if it worked all right and set up the camera. So over Christmas, because I'm not going to be able to get out and about because the weather's too bad and too cold and dark, I'm going to do some videos. I'm going to do some videos with the green screen, summing up the game week. So look out for those over the Christmas period.
Fun. You got a new name for that, or is that going to stay?
No, I'll just leave it as it is, and I'll do it live. I'm going to do live streams, I think, rather than do it recorded. Yeah. So look out for those. Subscribe, and you'll see when I'm doing them. They're going to be very ad hoc. They're going to be last minute. So if you subscribe, you'll get the alerts because it's not likely I'm going to post like the day before and go, I'm going to do it. Because I'm just going to be exploiting any free time I get over Christmas and snatching time to talk about FPL. So please subscribe because you'll get the chance to see some of that. I'm building that up, aren't I? Building that up.
I'm hyped. If I'm honest, just a really crappy like green screen of like a car chase or something in the background.
No, it works well. It's going to be good. FPL Shedbox, says David. Thank you very much for everyone who joined us tonight. Thank you very much for hitting the like, subscribe. We will see you next week. It's a good night for me.
Good night, everyone.